All right. Welcome back to the live show. You know what time it is. It is currently 11:44 p.m. And of course, today's date is the 9th of August 2025. How are we doing? Yes, we are back for another one. This is the Genesis Show. Welcome back. God bless y'all for being here. Okay. Today, tonight, it is a Saturday night. I hope y'all are enjoying your weekend. And right now, the title of this stream is America, the home of the brave. Okay? Home of the brave. All right? Right now, we're going to check out what's been going on all through this weekend and probably from like Thursday. But for the most part, we're going to check out the update on the gerrymandering situation in Texas and how Texas congressmen and women are responding to it. And of course, this is Jesse from Fox News up here. And we're going to check out what Jesse has to say concerning the dams because they're going nuclear. Okay, look, they're going nuclear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live show. Thank you for being here. And with that being said, be nice in the comment section. Don't forget, it is America first before parties. Okay, it's not your different parties before your country. Okay, it is America first before being a Democrat or being a Republican. Okay, so be nice in the comment section. You are actually talking to your fellow American brother or sister. So be nice. Okay, you can come from me, but be nice. Okay, be nice, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. All right, you ready? Everybody, thank you for being here. God bless y'all. And here we go.
Democrats tried going nuclear, but it turns out their red button's broken. So they're going with the other N word, Newsom.
What's happening in the United States of America is not normal. We cannot allow this to be considered normal. Please don't say it's surprising. When you say something is no longer surprising, you normalize it. This is shocking.
But Newsom's a humble guy. He doesn't want to be in front of the camera. He has to be, because only he can save America.
It wasn't our decision to be here, it's reaction to. We are trying to defend democracy as opposed to see it destroyed district by district. They drew first blood. We're responding to this action.
Take it easy, Rambo. Newsom saw JB back ribs swallowing up the spotlight and said, "Hold on, big fella. Gab was supposed to have a clear shot at 28. He doesn't need any roadblocks." But Newsom wasn't alone. Pelosi, who he's related to through marriage, are tag teaming with the Texas runaways.
The Republicans are acting because they have bankruptcy of ideas. They have no winning ideas to present to the American people, and they cannot defend their actions legitimately. So they're trying to do it and rig it illegitimately.
Nancy just called you a rigger. That's not very nice. Gerrymandering's legit. It's in the Constitution. What's illegitimate are show trials, impeachments, coups, cover-ups, hoaxes, and the Chinese funny money. Remember the diamonds? This is Pelosi's biggest event since busting a hip. The Wolf of Washington doesn't just pop her head out just for anything. Trump canceled DEI, trans surgeries, and the Green New Deal, and Nancy didn't say diddly. But a bunch of no-names from Texas skedaddled to Illinois over a few battle lines, and that gets her back in the game? Think about it. Pelosi's a vet. She knows there's a lot at stake. This is a lot bigger than maps and lines in Texas. The way this is escalating, this is about a new census and new districts all over. And for the Democrat Party, this is about survival. The chessboard's flipping, and Queen Nancy sees the pieces flying.
It's not wrong in what we're doing. This is self-defense for our democracy. They have hit out at our democracy, and we are here to defend it.
The Queen's not what she used to be. Democrats better think twice before following her into battle. Today, the fight's in Texas, but the war's nationwide. If those runaways had just stayed in Texas and taken the L, This wouldn't have blown up coast to coast. Republicans wouldn't be licking their chops to Jerry the Reds. Now the cat's out of the bag. All the Republicans are doing is fixing the funky numbers.
In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island.
Do we know that?
We do know that. The Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that. Blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island then didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted.
Why do these miscounts always hurt Republicans? It's time to even the playing field and boot illegals out of the country and out of the census.
California has way more House seats than it should because they have such a high population of illegal aliens. So they get rewarded for welcoming illegal aliens into their state.
Without juicing the census with illegals, Democrats have no power. Illegals are the engine of the Democrat machine. That's why they scream like toddlers every time a Maryland dad goes adios. They're not protecting families. They're protecting their seats. Now, we have the Supreme Court and usually the Senate. A rigged house is all they have left. They threatened to go nuclear and now want a ceasefire.
I didn't want to take on this fight. I've always followed the rules. Democrats always follow the rules. But when they're willing to do this to subvert our democracy, shame on us if we don't stand up. Of course, they can stop. They want to stop this game. They can stop right now, and we'll stand down as well.
Democrats don't follow the rules. They write new ones when they lose. But now Republicans are the ones with the pen, and the pen's mightier than the sword. The Democrat runaways didn't show up to work again today. In Texas, police are going door to door, but no luck. They're staying out of state. Time to hit them where it hurts, their wallets.
Any member absent for the purpose of breaking quorum will no longer have their paycheck or per diem deposited electronically. Those checks must now be picked up in person on Capitol grounds, effective immediately.
The runaways are stranded out of state without any money. And any assistance they get is considered a bribe under Texas law. They're up Bleeps Creek. Just like the Iranians, Democrats got caught bluffing. Now here comes the bunker buster. We know where they are, in New York with Hochul, in Chicago with baby back ribs, and in California with Greasy and the Wolf. They're goading the Texas Rangers to arrest them. They're dying to get handcuffed so they could call Trump a tyrant. But this is small potatoes. 3 years ago, today, the FBI raided his home and rifled through Melania's underwear. Trump was impeached twice, arrested 4 times, mugshotted and dragged into an icebox of a courtroom for a show trial in the middle of his campaign. The media tried convincing you he was a criminal. But can you name one crime he committed? No. Democrats thought lawfare would kill him. Instead, it crowned him. Now he's the most powerful man in the world, again, and he hasn't forgotten. For the first time in decades, a Republican president is going on offense. Today, the Justice Department opened a grand jury investigation into Tish James over her fraud case against Trump, the one where she fined him $500 million for taking out a loan that he paid back with interest. Now the tables are turned. Tish is being investigated for violating Trump's constitutional rights. Sources tell Fox the Justice Department believes Tish took Trump to court simply because she didn't like him and made up a crime. She campaigned on arresting him, and she's going to regret it.
There is nothing scarier for a citizen to get a subpoena or find out that they're being investigated by a federal criminal grand jury. It's terrifying, and here's why. Grand jury investigations sweep broadly. They gather terabytes of information, and they're very efficient at going through it. And the problem there for people is that they may be investigating issue number 1 and then stumble across never before known issue number 2.
In a separate case, Bondi just authorized a special prosecutor to investigate allegations that Tish James committed mortgage fraud and whether Adam Schiff did too. Pencil neck's going through the sharpener. When Trump was staring down the possibility of life in prison, Democrats said no one is above the law. And they never questioned the motivation of the prosecution or whether the allegations were sound. Now, suddenly, they're worried about weaponization.
The president has made no secret of wanting to seek retribution against his adversaries.
This is certainly something that does not have a good look to it when we talk about the DOJ sort of being used as a weaponization.
This reeks of weaponization. This is very alarming. The FBI should not be used to go after the political opponents of the current administration.
Where were they when Obama was spying on Trump and Biden was arresting him? They were cheering his downfall. To them, those were righteous prosecutions because 86ing Trump preserved the status quo, preserved their power. Both Schiff and Tisch publicly called their shot, promising to get Trump by any means. But just like Butler, they missed, and Trump's still standing. Did they really not expect Trump to fight back? He got shot in the head, popped up, and yelled, "Fight, fight, fight." It's his whole brand. It's his whole life. Now he's doing exactly what he said he would, ripping out the rot and handing the power back to the people. Democrats spent years stealing your money, opening our borders, shipping away jobs, and indoctrinating and operating on kids. They tried wrecking the country and burning down the one guy who promised to get in the way. Well, it backfired. Now we're 200 days into a historic term. A lot's happened, but the job isn't done. This is the beginning. Trump has to blaze a path of glory for America. And the rascals determined to return us to the old way of doing things aren't going to be tolerated. Democrats don't have any power in Washington. They're divided. They're confused. They're really unpopular. And when you have an opponent who's out on his feet, you knock him down. Democrats are in no position to sue for peace. They started this war, and we'll finish it.
Jesse is going in tonight, y'all. He is going in. Look, we are one people. This is America. Everybody come together. Unite, okay? Look, Jesse's going, wow. The 5. Here we go.
I hate to say it, Greg, but you did very well.
Oh, thank you. You seem surprised.
I am.
Yeah, no, you know what the thing is? It's a lot of credit to Fallon. Him and I have share something in common, and that is we want our viewers to go to bed not being angry. And I think that's a big difference from kind of that's what, I mean, people lump Fallon in with the other hosts. It's not true. Mm-hmm. He's an apolitical guy. He didn't like enlist in the culture wars. He was drafted and he's resisted it as much as he can, but he didn't have any choice. And I kind of, people say, oh, you're going to get stitched up. But I just go, I don't think so. Because I just don't see him that way. I just see him as a nice guy with an enormous amount of talent who wants to have a good time. Critics are saying, there were critics that said, oh, Gutfeld's a pit bull, he's going to attack him, and it's terrible, are the same people that are now going, oh, it was a love fest, I can't believe it. It's like, what do you want?
Well, when you jumped out, I don't know if Kennedy had the same reaction, and leapt into his arms.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That was a little scary.
Yes.
And then it made sense when you told the story.
Right.
Would you have done that again if you had maybe had another opportunity?
No. The whole point was doing that was because of the story, was that I was recreating the actual, when he jumped on me in the bar.
Yes, I got it. At first, it looked a little suspect.
What'd you think it was?
I thought it was a homosexual thing.
It could be both.
Did you go drinking with Kennedy after the interview? and Fallon, Kennedy, Fallon, and you?
No.
You guys you went back home?
Yeah, I went back home.
Okay. Because he's got like a reputation as a big drinker, and all of your stories were about him drinking a lot.
That's actually a good point. I don't drink anymore. It'll be 2 years in September. I think he's pretty much cut it down. He's a family man. But back in that time, we were both pretty crazy. We were both hanging out in the same places, doing much of the same things.
With evil Shannon Bream.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I too have not had a drink in many years.
Really?
54.
Oh my God.
54.
Listen, I didn't like this one bit because this is how this starts. You go there, you're in each other's arms, you're reminiscing about drunken nights, and we're going to lose you, and we're not willing to give you up. So I didn't like the feel of this at all.
You'll never lose me, Shannon.
Promise?
Yes. You'll always
Pinky
be
promise.
evil Shannon Bream to me.
But I can't get a pinky promise out of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, you probably know Fallon.
I've met him several times. I'll tell you why I think this is great. Great. First of all, you were fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I watched an interview this morning on another network with a head of an AI company. And he was talking about all of the great advances we're going to make in AI and how you're going to be able to wake up in the morning and your emails will have draft responses to them and you can just send it. And it just started to make me think about how technology, all this greatness in technology is really working to make us lonely and working to keep us apart. They treat us like we're commodities or widgets. If you look at Fallon and you look at Gutfeld, and I know you both, I know you better, you step back, you say, those guys should not get along. Those guys are going to have fights. Those guys, there's going to be something, that's what the widgets would tell us. That's what the AI would tell us. Humanity is better when we have contact, when people actually sit. And we all know you, that story, you happened to share that with us a week or two ago. You were going to share this story. But America got the benefit seeing two people who are enormously successful, who come from different perches, who sit on different ecosystems and infrastructures, but who actually know one another, like one another, and respect one another. That's what human contact does. That's what humanity is better when those things happen. So the country was improved by watching that last night, whether you agree with Gutfeld or whether you agree with Fallon or neither, to see them come together and laugh and make people at the end of the night say, I can go to bed with a smile on my face as opposed to angry and partisan and mad.
Are you going to nominate me for the Nobel Prize?
Yes. How did you know that's where I was headed? I got to get you right on gerrymandering, but other than that, I think you're ready.
Kenny, did you stay up till 11:30?
Yes, but I was out busking at the Port Authority. I wasn't watching this. The thing I loved about it, I love that you leapt into each other's arms, and I did worry for both of your marriages for just a moment.
And his back.
Yeah.
But then you pulled a very smart move. You immediately moved into the foreground, which made you look taller than Jimmy Fallon, which I thought was a brilliant move. Because, he's probably...
I learned that from Tattoo on Fantasy Island.
That's right.
Hervé Villechaize.
Yes,
R.I.P.
God rest his soul.
Yes.
Way too soon.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
I agree with Harold. Like, what it made people realize is, this industry really isn't that big.
Yeah.
And, we work across the street from each other, and you guys still have a lot in common.
I was talking to their producers. We were both bemused by the amount of attention it got within the industry. It's like, why? And it's to your point, why is this such a big deal? Yeah. It's because you're not supposed to do it. And we're supposed to be at each other's throats. There's this idiot, Bill Carter. He's a TV critic, whatever. He's just very disappointed that there wasn't some kind of brawl. It's like,
that's because he wants drama. Like, he's the one who wrote The Late Shift, and he's the author that wants to feed off of that and have another version of the late night war, so he has something to write about. And there's really not, because most of these shows are going to get canceled. But what I want to know from you is, I think Jimmy Kimmel was probably very nervous watching this. Did it feel pretty secure over there, or were they worried that they're the next to go? What was the vibe?
There's something they don't talk about Fallon, in that he's incredibly successful in the digital sphere. It's not, it's like, you can look at his numbers, the show, but he on TikTok, that's why I did the thing with the Jonas Brothers, where they played Wizards. That thing goes online, it's going to go crazy. So he is always creating stuff that will be incredibly effective in this modern era. And I think that's why his show is going to do fine. And also, his show is going to benefit from Colbert going away, because some of those people need to go somewhere. I don't know if they're going to come to me. I think they're going to probably go to him instead.
They'll secretly go to you. They will not tell their friends.
You all gave AI a lot of information last night. I hope it gets logged in, because the country needs to understand that everybody can laugh and tell jokes and do things together.
AI, Harold.
This guy, AI, Harold.
I'm not, I'm the antithesis of AI.
No. Did you dry hump the Jonas Brothers too?
Oh, no, but dear God. Say no.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I was walking away, and I have witnesses. Joe Jonas was standing on the side, shyly said, "That was great." And I said, "Tonight, later."
Greg, tonight, later. All right, here we go. Putin
Fox
and
News
Trump.
alert. Trump just made a major announcement.
The meeting in
The
Alaska.
highly anticipated meeting between myself as president of the United States of America and Vladimir Putin of Russia will take place next Friday in the great state of Alaska. A fitting destination, considering we bought Alaska from the Russians for pennies on the dollar. If Trump can secure a deal as good as that for Ukraine, we're in great shape. This comes just hours after Trump made another peace deal between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
The country of Armenia and Azerbaijan are committing to stop all fighting forever, open up commerce, travel, and diplomatic relations, and respect each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
President of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Prime Minister of the Republic.
Look at him.
These countries have been at each other's throats for 37 years. Trump just ended it. Sounds like a Nobel Peace Prize is in order.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee will make their announcement as it relates to this year's Nobel Peace Prize on October the 10th, Friday, October the 10th. Is that date circled on your calendar, Mr. President?
I can't say. I mean, a lot of people say, no matter what I did, because, I'm of a certain persuasion, no matter what I do, they won't give it. And I'm not politicking for it.
I think President Trump deserved to have a Nobel Peace Prize. We will promote for that.
Fox News correspondent Alexandra Huff is here with us now. How you doing, Alexandra?
Hey, I'm great, Jesse. Thanks for having me. President Trump, he did not want this meeting with President Putin to overshadow that resolution signed today between Armenia and Azerbaijan. You noticed when the two leaders shook their hands at the White House, President Trump actually gripped onto that handshake, which is really symbolic of what kind of month, what kind of legacy President Trump intends to have. So he is going to meet with President Putin in Alaska midday on Friday. That's all we know right now. It's going to be their first face-to-face since 2018. And the first time that President Putin has touched U.S. soil in a decade. The intention here is to then have a second meeting at some point that includes Ukraine's President Zelensky. And as Peter mentioned right here last night, there was a lot of talk about where Putin maybe wanted this meeting to happen, but really the call was going to be made by President Trump. He's the third party. He's not the one losing soldiers. It was Putin who requested this sit down, and today was the deadline for Russia to make peace or be financially hit by the U.S. And President Trump, I mean, this has been a big week. He began it by expressing once again frustration with Putin over the lack of progress made towards peace and his continued assault on Ukraine. And he now says that Putin is coming to the last frontier to talk peace, Jesse.
Well, we know the president's a savvy operator, but how much does this administration trust Vlad?
You know, there's always an asterisk on this. When the president was asked today about what kind of work that President Zelensky needs to do to make sure that he could make the concessions perhaps necessary, he said Zelensky is preparing, but he always kind of adds this, if a deal can be done, if we can get this thing done. So there is always an asterisk. We've heard this continued frustration and the skepticism coming from the president towards Putin.
All right. Hopefully Vlad doesn't just drag it out again. Right. Alexandria, thank you so much. Click.
Can you imagine Putin coming into the United States after one whole decade? Shout out to the OG, the 45th, now the 47th.
All right, it's Friday, Trump. So you know what that means. Right, let's welcome tonight's guest. He's charming, disarming over sex toys being thrown. Wear a dildo costume and throw him on a WNBA court. A WNBA coach is demanding action over sex toys being thrown on the floor during games, saying that it's offensive to toss them without including AA batteries. But come on, people. We really need to stop throwing dildos at these ladies. I can't believe I have to demand that. We need to keep them where they belong, on the men's soccer field. This weekend, Major League Baseball will have its first female umpire. Yeah. But the game won't start until you hear about her day. Congressional aides of Jasmine Crockett says she always has to be driven in an Escalade, unlike our last president, who only traveled by this. China is testing a spacecraft that will put the first Chinese person on the moon. It will be one small step for man and one long trip to get my dry cleaning.
Oh, racist would say.
Terrible. Fox News star Jesse Waters said that the actor Shia LaBeouf told him to go F himself when they met at the airport a few years ago. See, Jesse, celebrities are just like everybody else. WNBA star Diana Taurasi went off on her pay by claiming the effing janitor made more than me. Well, in his defense, he does have to mop up dildos. Federal judge has halted the expansion of alligator Alcatraz in Florida. He claims the state has suffered enough since the arrival of Steve Doocy. Rosie O'Donnell said ABC is going to cancel The View, but first it's going to soften it up. Although I don't think they need any help at making things go soft. Applause. President Trump claimed the Howard Stern show went down after he endorsed Hillary Clinton. Wow, this may be the first time Hillary and went down were ever used in the same sentence. The Associated Press is being criticized for a story of how Hezbollah terrorists are struggling to recover from the pager attack. Yeah, and OJ hurt his wrist during a stabbing injury. Nancy Pelosi claims she's working for gender-affirming care for trans kids. While many say there's no such thing as trans kids, Pelosi said, yeah, well, you said there's no such thing as vampires, and I feast on blood. That makes her a vampire. Ghislaine Maxwell will not be permitted to train service dogs at her new prison. Officials fear she'll only train the dogs to fetch teenagers. That is a perfect joke. CNN's Casey Hunt is under fire for asking if wheelchair-bound Texas Governor Greg Abbott had a leg to stand on. Hunt says it was a poor choice of words, and she's really sorry. It's not funny. It is funny. McDonald's has announced a new Happy Meal aimed at adults. It's called McBooze. Bunch of alkies in here. And finally, scientists have discovered that blue whales have mysteriously gone silent off the California coast. Well, they're certainly not quiet here on the East Coast. Could have seen that one coming. All right, here we go. Director James Cameron is warning us that once AI is combined with weapon systems, it could lead to a Terminator-style apocalypse. Well, I wouldn't want to be named Sarah Connor. People would assume I'm trans. Meanwhile, AI is also being weaponized by scammers to mimic humans. One 13-year-old girl used AI to clone her mom's voice in order to trick her school into getting out of tests in class. Uh-oh. And if teens can use that tech to skip school, imagine the possibilities. I've already cloned my boss's voice in case producers ever ask me to be on Fox and Friends. Another recent study says that when AI's goals are threatened, it resorts to blackmail, including lying or stealing secrets, all in order to avoid being shut down. Apparently, it's modeled after Hillary Clinton. So, nice. What's our best defense? Well, researchers aim to prevent AI from developing evil traits by giving them a small dose of those traits. In other words, they're forcing them to watch Ellen reruns. But by introducing evil flaws into the machine, they're trying to vaccinate AI. So what's that sound like to you? Yeah, it's how we got COVID. Let's create the most dangerous form of something so we can somehow prevent it from being created at all. How did that work out? Millions of people died. We got Joe Biden as president, and I still can't get a decent bowl of bat soup in this town. It's not hard to see where this is headed. Nothing online or even heard over a phone will ever be trusted again because AI can replicate it. And it's already happening everywhere with pictures, myself included. Now, here are some of me and Kat and Tyrus with a baby. You can tell it's fake because Tyrus is never that happy. Here's another one. Who the hell is that random white guy with Kat? That is not her husband. Does her husband know? I don't know who that man is. I don't know who's fallen for these things, but they need to send me their credit card info immediately. But as AI improves, and it will, and becomes a tool to trick us, how will you know what's real? If your son calls and says he's been left on the side of a deserted highway by Larry Kudlow and he needs cash, how will you know it's even him, even when you can see his face? Well, whether we like it or not, we're going to have to do something that we hate. Engage in human contact. The only way to be sure that we're dealing with real people is to see them and to talk to them. It may be that we'll have to adopt the practices of the mafia, relay information face to face on little scraps of paper, and then communicate our dismay by putting horses' heads in people's beds. And what of the fear of being replaced by AI in the workplace? Well, AI is a pattern recognition machine. It pores over data and finds patterns to predict what's next. Meaning if your job consists of Monday being no different than Tuesday, then you're in trouble. But maybe this is a gift because it will force you to be creative, meaning being unpredictable, because that's the only thing AI cannot replicate. Our show, for example, AI can't do this because it's impossible to predict. 1 minute it's hilarious, the next it's absurd, then it's incredibly stupid. Usually when I ask female guests to do math. I know, that's a stupid joke. So if you don't want to lose your job to AI, you will need to regularly change what you do. Then AI can never do it. AI is really just a cover band, copying what's already been done, which is why our AI stands for always interesting, whether it makes any sense or not.
This man right here. Here we go.
Charlie, there's a lot of really smart people freaking out. Are you one of those smart people?
Yeah, well, I mean, it is scary. I had not read the thing about using AI to mimic your mom's voice to get out of stuff. That's spectacular.
Dude, you can actually do a FaceTime with you, Charlie, telling your wife that it's okay for her to see Greg.
Yeah. If I had had access to that when I was a teenager, it would have all ended very differently.
Yes.
I would have actually gotten away with so much more. But I do think, but this is why I'm not concerned about it. If there's any place on earth that is prepared for AI, it's America.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and it has to do with, it has to do with the fact that we have always been sold to. We always know a BS artist. It's in our DNA. We watch commercials all the time. We're always being sold things. Sold the next great idea. Sometimes it is a good idea. Sometimes it's the same old thing that somebody's just trying to get money out of you. But that's fine. That's what it means to be an American in a free market society. You just learn to separate the BS from what's real.
But I'm just talking, even you're probably really good at it, but even news stories that show up on X and there's video, or look at what's happening in the Middle East.
Okay.
Fake stuff.
The stuff that you and I fall for, my teenage kids look at it and they go, that's bull. And they just instantly know it because they've spent more time with it. And I have noticed that I have gotten a lot better about it as AI has gotten better. I look at a video and I see a picture of you, Kat, and a baby, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not true.
Dude, all right. Why do I keep saying dude? What is my problem? It's a shirt, isn't it? Look, here's the deal. I have just family members who send me those pictures saying how cute my baby is. And I have to say, that's not my baby. I mean, it's great. It's an age thing if they're older than you. But Tom, think about what happened to COVID, where everybody went remote. We all had to do everything right. Is this going to reverse everything where we actually have to talk face-to-face, go to meetings so we know that this is really happening?
I'm not worried about the AI stories because I'm going to treat AI news stories just like I treat regular news stories. If I don't agree with it, it's fake. Fake.
That is so true.
Yeah. I like this article. James Cameron, he said that this AI is an existential threat up there with global warming.
Ah, there you go.
So I was like, oh, okay, we shouldn't be worried then. And the one thing that James Cameron said AI would never take over, he said it could never write an original screenplay because it wouldn't have the human touch, which I think is hilarious because if you ask AI to write a screenplay, it writes you a James Cameron movie.
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting is if you go to like Grok, you could go to Grok and you could say, I had this dream last night, and you could explain the dream. And then you go, can you do 90 pages on that? There's your movie.
Yeah.
So it can actually be done. I mean, you just have to call it something else and you can get a movie. I do a lot of weird things with Grok, and I'll tell you about it in the break. CJ, are you worried at all? You're young. You might not see your 20th birthday.
You know, I think when it comes to AI, I oftentimes try to remind people that F out and find out is intended to be heeded as a warning, not as a triple dog dare, right?
Yeah.
And so I think some people have confused that. But I do want to congratulate my ex-girlfriend because you said there was an AI model based on vindictive behavior, so I'm glad she's found a new career path. But looking at that, what I will say is that it's
How long were you two guys together?
You know, you caught me up there. But, you know... But looking at that, what I gotta tell you is that I think it's so interesting seeing like how this is evolving. I think human behavior will have to evolve, but I think we as a people will have to as well. And honestly, my biggest concern is with automation that we don't lose a lot of the blue-collar workers who are the backbone of this country, which I think should be a real concern front of mind for a lot of people.
That's the thing, you know, Kat, we were talking about this before that like, we were talking about like what could be replaced.
Right.
And I'm convinced that like this show, AI could never do because you never know. There's no predictable pattern in this, whereas there might be other shows on Fox that like AI would actually do a better job. But anyway, I won't say which they, you know, but you know what I'm saying, right? So we know the secret to beating AI is unpredictability. But to CJ's point, how do other jobs like do that? You can't just be a bus driver and go, I'm going to take a different route today.
Right. That would also make you a bad bus driver. Like you start going the wrong way.
I'm going to learn to juggle while I'm constructing this building.
Yeah, I mean that's how the world is, though. There's new technology that arises, and then some of the old stuff doesn't exist anymore. You know, if you were like a phonograph technician, you're probably out of work. But this is particularly scary the way it does use people's likeness. It is because I get this stuff all the time. For the record, everyone, I have not posted ever a single photo of my baby.
Yeah.
My baby's not on the internet. I have not announced his name. I have not shared any pictures of him. And I am constantly, I mean, and all these stories that are out there accompanying this AI version of me, which, by the way, they made me less attractive.
Yeah.
Which, it's like, why did you make my nose bigger? Why am I always crying? I only cry once a day, not all day long.
Yeah, you know what they do? They really find, they tell AI, find an uglier version of Kat.
Yeah, it's like, I look worse there.
Yes.
You know, it's horrible. I had somebody tell me that they love this picture of my daughter. I'm like, I have a daughter now?
Do you know that somebody congratulated me on my second baby?
Yes.
It's incredible. There are people, guests on this show that come here and tell me how cute my baby is. I go, you've never seen my baby.
You know what was the craziest one that I read? I was very surprised to read that I had died.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like sitting right here, and I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think this is, and if I would have died, I would look a lot hotter than that doing it.
And you'd also be a Democrat voter if you had died. So.
That's some good red meat there. No, it's truly insane because some people, they can't distinguish, and it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It's going to get more accurate. And you should just absolutely question everything. But yeah, it's gonna be tough if you're completely predictable for people.
That's why you got to be unpredictable. You got to be risky, daring, much like me. You never know.
Risky, daring, just like me. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're going to have fun tonight. Tulsi Gabbard.
This deal, only one of the many, as I mentioned, over the first 200 days of President Trump's presidency, including India, Pakistan, Thailand, Cambodia, Congo, Rwanda, and more. Now add as well Armenia and Azerbaijan. Stunning. Joining me now is Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Director, thanks so much for being with us here today. You heard the suggestion right there from the presidents of Azerbaijan and Armenia. We need to take a moment just to really celebrate this peace. And it's something that I know you've seen firsthand as a congresswoman. You have seen that contested region, but now you have these two leaders suggesting the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, Will, it's a truly historic day. And, you know, under this president's leadership, this historic peace deal has been truly made into reality. When people actually go back and look at the history, you hit the high points there. These two countries have been in some form of conflict, sometimes very bloody, other times a very tense situation where conflict could spark out again at any moment for over 35 years. So for this event to happen today again, President Trump said in some of his remarks today that his aspiration, his greatest aspiration as president, is to bring about peace and stability. This is yet another example of his effective leadership that brought these two leaders together in a way that hasn't happened before. And I can tell you there was a lot of work that led to this moment. This wasn't something that just happened overnight. Again, when you look at over 35 years of conflict, under President Trump's leadership, he encouraged and helped move along this ongoing negotiation between these two leaders and their countries that led to this truly historic and great event.
Director, do you maintain optimism that the list I just rattled off of at least 4 different conflicts and wars across the world could soon potentially include Ukraine and Russia? Do you maintain optimism that that will be something that President Trump is also capable of ushering into peace?
You know, I do maintain cautious optimism. I think President Trump made very clear, he is very clear-eyed about how challenging this is. We've seen this over these last 200 days since he's been in office, but we've also seen how President Trump and his leadership has made more progress and brought about more peace negotiations and peace deals than any other country and any other president, and in such a very short period of time. So if there's, and this is a sentiment that's shared by others, if there is any person who can help usher in a true peace deal and an end to this bloody war between Russia and Ukraine, it is President Trump. But again, all very clear-eyed about how challenging it is.
All right. We originally booked you today because it is August 8th. It is the 2-year anniversary of the massive fire that engulfed Lahaina, Maui, Hawaii. I visited there this summer, as I do every summer growing up throughout my life, and still go today, as I mentioned. And you, of course, are a former congresswoman from Hawaii, Director. I just went back in the last couple of weeks. I got to drive through Lahaina. I got to see the damage that remains to this day. As everyone has seen the videos, the homes, the businesses are down to the dirt. And that is actually a mark of progress to remove the terrible debris. But I also got to see something else, Director. I got to see the beginning of the rebuild. I got to see homes. I got to see people. I got to share hugs with people, for example, some of whom received the money that was helped raised right here on this network. From the viewers that are watching us right now, we are capable of raising $2.6 million from viewers of Fox News. It went out in $12,000 grants to over 212 families that I personally spoke to each and every one of them on the phone. And I just went to Lahaina, and I want to share with you, everyone watching, and then I want to talk to you, Director, as well about this, what I saw just a few weeks ago in Lahaina. This is the north side of Lahaina. We're on Front Street. You're facing the Pacific Ocean. You can see the homes that once sat right on the water, and then the neighborhoods right here going up the mountainside are largely gone, now cleared. And you can even see there some homes are starting to be rebuilt, framed out. And still in front of each lot a sign that says Hawaii Wildfire Response Debris Removal Support. 2 years later, we're still in the midst of clearing, but beginning the process of rebuilding. This is the Methodist Church, where me and my family went to church every Sunday here growing up. You can see all that's left is the staircase and the sign. This is temporary housing that the government has put up for everyone. It's pretty impressive. This is up. You can see a lot of cars, a lot of people living in this new, brand new, colorful neighborhood. This is Kakoa Mawat's family's house. This is so cool. It's permitted. They've moved in for 2 weeks. Electricity, water. This is one of the families your generous donations went to help.
The biggest thing is faith in God. And, you know, I always thought that He wasn't going to let us down, you know, and that no matter what, we're going to come back up. And it's so true. I sorry for the emotion, but it is within me that what we went through.
Everybody's struggling, you know.
I asked Becky if I could give her a hug a moment ago, and she gave me the realest hug in a long time. That's so good. All right, the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is still with us. And it's notable, of course, the former Congresswoman from the state of Hawaii as well. And I know you have stayed in touch. If I might, for this one moment, just refer to you as Tulsi. I know you've stayed in touch. I know you know what's happening in Lahaina, and I wanted to talk to you today.
Well, it's I'm getting choked up here watching your video there and just hearing from some of the residents there who've been able to come home, and really the gentleman that you spoke to who really highlighted having faith in God in the face of this historic and unprecedented tragedy is really the most beautiful and powerful statement that anyone could say. It's something that you and I both saw there 2 years ago in the days after this, again, historic, deadliest fire in over 100 years that our country has seen, that tragically took 102 people's lives and completely razed this historic town of Lahaina. And what you and I saw when we were there was that incredible faith in God, even in the face of uncertainty and a harsh environment and loss, and how the people of Hawaii came together with their aloha to help one neighbor feeding another neighbor sheltering another, making do with what little they actually had, willing to give the shirt off their back for someone who they felt was in greater need. And that kind of kindness, that kind of love, that aloha, again, in the face of such incredible tragedy, can only come from God's unconditional love for all of us. And it's beautiful and makes my heart happy to see some of the stories that you've shared and the experience that you had there just a couple weeks ago.
Well, thank you for those words. It's incredible. You described it absolutely perfectly. I hear it over and over. Faith and belief in God, appreciation of your neighbor, and the definition of that neighbor does include the entirety of America and everybody watching. That home you just saw on your screen, you watching, you helped rebuild that home and many, many more. Tulsi, Director, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Will. Thank you.
There you go. DNI, Director of National Intelligence. Here we go. More Gutfeld.
I brought fun by the gallon to our pal, Jimmy Fallon. Our video of the day comes from The Tonight Show, where I was a guest last night. Spoiler alert, it went great. Here's a clip.
Welcome to the show.
That brought back memories.
Yeah, this is hilarious. We've met before.
Yes, you have no memory of it, which is understandable because we were wasted. So I walk into this bar and I'm with my friend Andy, and then I see you, and you look at me, and you have your eyes just kind of explode, and you run towards me and you tackle me like you're like a giant golden retriever.
I'm sorry I tackled you.
I know. It was great though. It was all very good natured, and it was a great memory, and I'm so glad I finally got to tell you about it.
I'm so happy. Thank you. And welcome back. Welcome to the show. Thank you for telling us. I'm happy. That's a true story.
Thanks for leaving out all the jokes. But it went so well all the way home, I couldn't stop talking about it with my Uber driver. Seriously. And we had just as much fun backstage, though things got tense when I accidentally walked into the Jonas Brothers dressing room 5 times. But it was nothing like the critics predicted. They expected me, Mr. Evil Fox News, to attack Jimmy Fallon, and they were mad when I didn't. But I went on the show for the same reason I started this show. Late night needs more fun. I was a gracious guest to a nice guy, and if you expected me to tear into Jimmy, then you're as clueless and boring as Stephen Colbert interviewing Kamala Harris. It took guts for Fallon to have me on the show, not only because he risked criticism from the left, but it exposed his audience to his handsome, witty, muscular competition. Talk about this coincidence. Jimmy Fallon's contract has just been renewed by NBC through 2028. You see that, Colbert? You should have had me on. And there's still time, Mr. Kimmel. I'll even bring the tissues. Tom, you've done these shows before. You know, the crowd was very Jonas Brother friendly. A lot of screaming women. It made me a little nervous that I had to tone down my energy. I didn't want them to tear my clothes off.
But they did. I thought the audience enjoyed you. This was, I mean, to me, this was great to see. And it reminded me that I think you and Fallon have a similar energy in that the model for the late night host was always kind of detached and, sarcastic, and kind of above it all. But both you and Jimmy enjoy yourselves when you're doing the show.
Yeah.
Like, you have a good time. You're always laughing at your guests. He's always enjoying his guests. So I thought it went great, and I was just overjoyed to see it. And my favorite part was, can you imagine if, like, in 1968, if Gutfeld's mother was told she was going to be on The Tonight Show in 2025?
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a very nice thought, Tom. CJ, any criticism, constructive criticism for me? Do you wish I would have politically attacked Fallon?
No, my only question is actually, you were talking about my supposed bromances. We got to talk about you and Jimmy Fallon's now, right?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of, the culture war, I can think for the first time ever, we can definitively say as conservatives, we're winning that battle. You going on The Tonight Show, Sydney Sweeney being the face of a major fashion brand's advertising campaign, and them not just standing beside it, but doubling down on it instead of saying, oh, yeah, we should have put a 300-pound gender fluid black woman as the face of our Gene campaign. It goes to show we are finally winning this important battle. Andrew Breitbart was completely on point when he said that culture is downstream from politics. We're winning the cultural battle, and the more that we do that, the more young people are going to come to our side, and we'll just keep on winning, and thank God for it.
All right.
Wow.
Jimmy gave me a big bag of stuff. Would you like any? There's all these, like, Jimmy Fallon shirts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I think he did this on purpose.
Yeah.
It keeps going, by the way. That's in case you're upside down. Then I got, look at this. This is nice. This is a Fallon sweatshirt, for one of those slumber parties that you always throw, Kat. But my favorite part of this, there's like 20 things in here. All of these, he wrote a bunch of children's books.
Oh.
Look at this. This is 5 more sleeps till Christmas, 5 more sleeps till Halloween. I'm sensing a trend here. But he wrote, he's got 10 children's books, but not an actual book.
They used to read these to Joe Biden in the Oval.
Yeah, here's my favorite one, Con Polo. He wrote this with Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce that.
It's a bilingual playtime adventure.
It sounds like you might benefit from it.
So what do you think? You want any of this stuff? What do you think of this stuff overall?
Well, I told you last night you did a great job. I can tell you again. You did a great job, Greg.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I do think it was a positive thing for the culture.
Yeah.
The fact that the two of you sat down and you didn't talk about politics at all.
Yeah.
You sat there, you had a conversation. I do want to know, did you rehearse the run and jump hug? Or was that an impromptu?
That was impromptu.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. When they said you got to go stand up, and I go, this is the first time I think I've ever done a show where I walk on. And I go, I'm going to talk about us being wrestling. Maybe if I come in and I attack him like that, that will give me a segue into the wrestling story by saying, ooh, that brings back memories.
Got it. Yeah, you like a little jump. You kicked your little feet up.
Oh, the jump up was, I thought, because was me going like, oh, You know,
Yeah.
the lady
You felt
thing.
cute.
Yeah.
So did you put any thought into it? Like, what if he had dropped you?
Yeah.
That would have been awkward.
You know, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
But this was a lot of people's first exposure to you as a human being, right?
And that's second.
You know what rather than just the guy who, the headlines that people probably read of Gutfeld said this thing and they see the headline, you were just a guy just being a dude talking to another dude.
Yeah.
So I think, we don't really see a lot of that at all with two people who are on the opposing side.
Yeah, and I don't even see him politically, and I think that was one of the issues with Fallon, was that he never enlisted in the culture war. He was drafted.
Yeah.
You know, the moment that he, made the mistake of humanizing Trump, he was forced to be on the other side and disown it, and then he just had it with that crap.
Well, it's totally real, which is why it was so good. And both of you brought something real to it, and it was a real conversation. And I was really glad that you took the opportunity to go on take your bandwagon on the road about the importance of being fired multiple times in your life. I think you should take that to high schools and maybe some middle schools.
It is the most important thing. It's like everybody sees being fired as like a death. But like a week later, you're like, oh my God, thank you. You always are better after you get fired, unless it's from Fox. I'm kidding, I think.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the live show. Don't forget to double tap your screen, subscribe to the channel, and join the membership if you can. Here we go. Jesse.
Our countries, we have to protect our country. So,
Post front yard.
We're talking about sending
10 million people. We have.
This enemy, they don't wear a uniform. They're moving fentanyl by the truckload.
I want you to look at the contraband that's in front of me. We have 20 kilograms of fentanyl that's in front of me on this table. That's enough to kill 10 million people. The work that we do is to protect people and make sure that we remove these weapons and drugs off of our streets and hold those criminals accountable who would go forward and continue to use that to harm individuals.
Cartels are now officially in the Pentagon's crosshairs. And it's not just the wall anymore. Trump ordered the kill shot. The days of local drug busts and random motels, they were fun, but that's Breaking Bad stuff. Trump wants to take the fight to El Chapo's front yard.
We're talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game.
According to the New York Times, behind the scenes, Trump's moving all the pieces into place to pull this off. Mexico's got a big problemo.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Mexican territory. It has to do with their country. It does not involve our territory.
So it would be within the United States?
Within the United States, exactly.
El Presidente doesn't comprehende. This isn't a Mexican standoff. This is an order. The CIA is already flying surveillance drones over Mexican territory, gathering intel on the battle space. And Trump's not sending diplomats. He's sending Hegseth, maybe with a new title.
Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War.
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. So we'll be prepared. Stand by. There might be some news on that.
This is about protecting the homeland from groups like the Sinaloa cartel. They import fentanyl from China and traffic it into the United States. Look at that. Trump designated them terrorists. And if they get cute, they're getting Soleimani'd.
You know who did the roadside bomb, right? Soleimani. Where is he? Where is he? Where is Soleimani?
former U.S. Army Special Forces and president of WorldStrat, Jim Hansen. Jim, what kind of operations do you envision happening in Central and South America in this cartel war?
Jesse, I don't think anybody would be more thrilled than me to watch some helmet cam footage of a bunch of JSOC pipe hitters rappelling out of helicopters and stacking cartel members like cordwood. Now, that's the ultimate. I don't know that we'll probably open with that. You know, there's likely to be a lot of increased surveillance. There may be some raids to pick up some people to arrest and put on trial. There'll be some interdiction off the coasts. The Navy can cover a lot more territory than the Coast Guard can, and together they can cover both the exfil from Central and South America and the infill to us. So there's a lot of things to start with, but this is a tremendous step they're taking.
All right, so they could seize some guys off the field and bring them here and put them on trial. Could they also just drone strike these cartel bad guys right in their backyard?
That's a lawyer question, but I'm going to give you the common sense answer. If their cartels are killing people in the United States and the MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangs are, why can't we kill their leaders just the same way President Trump pointed out we took care of Soleimani?
That would be an imminent threat, right? I mean, if these guys are cooking up all this fentanyl and sending it into the cities and people are acting like zombies and keeling over, that's an imminent threat to the life and well-being of the American citizenry.
Absolutely. And I think the rationale we use for other terrorists we've killed through multiple administrations, Barack Obama still, I think, holds the record for the number of people killed overseas by drone strikes, including one U.S. citizen. So I think President Trump deciding that these guys who are definitely killing Americans with drugs, torturing and running people with human trafficking and child trafficking, those are things that I think all of America can look at and say, we don't need to allow that. And anything we do to them is probably justified at this point.
Now, the Mexican president, she's played nice so far on trade, but it's a big no bueno, she says, if we start launching direct action into her territory. It's not even really her territory. I guess technically it is, but the cartels control almost that entire country. What does that do to Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, that is not her decision. She's the one who runs a country that allows that to happen. So if she wants to go ahead and try and tell President Trump, we can't do that, we're going to do what we need to, and she's going to go ahead and face the consequences. That's something they've allowed for far too long.
All right. Well, it looks like that time's up. Jim Hansen, good to talk to you.
Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin has the story from the Pentagon this evening.
The U.S. military is building the largest federal deportation detention center in America's history. The construction of Camp East Montana at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, began mid-July in response to a request from Homeland Security. Pentagon Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson defended the use of the military base to initially detain 1,000 migrants awaiting deportation.
Once DoD achieves initial stand-up, we will finish construction for up to 5,000 beds in the weeks and months ahead. Upon completion, this will be the largest federal detention center in history for this critical mission, the deportation of illegal aliens.
So far, the Army has spent $232 million on the tent city at Fort Bliss. The U.S. Army oversees the $1.24 billion contract for the 5,000-bed ICE facility, and last month awarded the contract to build the facility to Acquisition Logistics, a Virginia-based company. In January, President Trump announced migrants would be sent to Guantanamo Bay, where Defense Secretary Hegseth promised the Marines could build a 30,000-bed facility. Those plans were halted when ICE standards were not being met for housing migrants. Construction ended after just 175 tents were stood up. Quote, there are currently 33 high-threat illegal aliens and 8 low-threat illegal aliens at Naval Station Guantanamo Bay. To date, 690 illegal aliens have been processed through Naval Station Guantanamo Bay. There is no new information on the status of the tent infrastructure. The White House would neither confirm nor deny a New York Times exclusive report that President Trump secretly signed an order allowing the U.S. military to pursue known drug cartels, which the administration has labeled terrorist organizations, raising concerns that the U.S. military could begin operating in Mexico and Venezuela. Brett?
Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Jennifer, thank you. Up next, sentencing.
He's sworn in as an ICE agent. He joins us now. Dean, great to have you on the show, as always. It's fascinating because I have to play this. You were the topic on CNN last night, right? You had him kind of back and forth going over here. And, of course, the liberal had to take a swipe at you. I want to play this, and I'll get your response on the other side. Watch.
Having someone like that out touting it, talking about, hey, this is a thing you can do for your government. This is public service. It's going to help them recruit, and they have a bunch of people to recruit.
Scott, it's not 95. Nobody gives a Sam hell what Dean Cain
You
does.
may not, but in the conservative community,
Dean ain't worked in a while. Dean needs the 50,000. That's what got Dean off the couch.
I mean, I laugh because I was sitting there thinking, come on, Dean Cain, these guys have no idea that you're a reserve police officer in Idaho. You're a sheriff's deputy. You've been in law enforcement for a very long time, Dean, and you don't need the 50K because only in their world have you not been working. What's your thought on that?
I think it's funny. They just resort to ad hominem attacks, try to make personal attacks when I'm trying to help support the safety of Americans and our brave men and women of ICE. It's funny to me because I get it on the internet, get all that craziness. Scott Jennings is a national treasure. Love him to death. And he does such a great job dismantling those guys. I mean, I'm not getting the 50,000, whoever that guy was. I don't need money. I'm working my tail off. I just finished directing literally 3 days ago another film. I've got one on angel.com that's top 10 that's current right now. I've got 3 more to shoot this year. That's ridiculous. But they'll do anything they can to tear down people who are trying to do the right thing for Americans. I mean, look at those 3 guys who just got busted. Those people do not belong here. They are criminals. 70% of all the arrests that ICE is doing right now are for convicted criminals, or they have pending charges. It's not even a question. So I'm trying to step up and say, look, like you had on just a minute ago, that poor woman, Holly, who stepped up in Cincinnati and said, look, this is wrong. Wait a minute, stop. Daniel Penny stepping up and doing the right thing. The Good Samaritans trying to step up and say, look, I'm here to support Americans and safety for everybody. Black, white, green, yellow, blue, red. It doesn't matter. Right. There are people here who shouldn't be here. There are criminals that shouldn't be here. They were let in by the last administration. And I'm saying, leave these ICE agents alone. They're not the Gestapo. They're doing a job that Congress has written the rules for. And God bless them. So I'll stand up with them. I'll be that Good Samaritan. Yeah. If it gets more people recruited into ICE, God bless it. I'm happy to do so.
And we mentioned this, that, listen, there were 10,000 ICE agents they wanted to hire. They got 50,001, Dean, applications.
80,000
because that's 80,001 applications for these 10,000 jobs. I think it's phenomenal. But the same people who are ridiculing you on CNN are the same people who are in favor of the criminals being set free in America.
It's madness. And I was talking to some of my more liberal friends yesterday who stepped up and, I talk to people all over the spectrum. I'm not just in an echo chamber. And my more liberal friends said, hey, man, what are you doing here? What's the story? And they said, honestly, it happened to them. They hadn't been around it. They had heard about it. It didn't affect their lives. So they could stand on their soapbox for as long as they wanted to say, this just seems wrong, until it was a criminal group of gangs who were robbing houses near them. And all of a sudden, it was very, very real. And what do? They pick up the phone, they call 911, get law enforcement, they want ICE involved. Now they love them. And that's a common theme that I see throughout. So shame on them for protecting the criminals. Criminal activity is criminal activity, and we have laws for a reason in this country.
Yeah. Listen, and when your movies come out, you come on Fox News at night. We promote them, and our audience loves it. They're always highly rated, and so we know exactly what's going on. Dean Cain, good for you. Congratulations. Best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Trace.
Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary. Jonathan, great to have you on the show. I want to play some sound here from the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. He said this about targeting cartels as terrorists.
Their behavior is going to have to change one way or another, but it allows us to now target what they're operating and to use other elements of American power, intelligence agencies, the Department of Defense, whatever, to target these groups if we have an opportunity to do it. We have to start treating them as armed terrorist organizations, not simply drug dealing organizations.
I mean, I think it's a proper assessment. I don't know what you think about this, Jonathan, but it's interesting because these cartels are no longer just providing these illegal products by the thousands of pounds. They're killing thousands of Americans.
You're exactly right. And if you think about it, just during the Biden administration, 400,000 people died of overdose deaths just in that 4-year term. And as we know, there was just a complete dereliction of duty on the border as well as taking it to their cartels. And just for some context, that's 100,000 more than during the first Trump administration. So a massive increase. We need to take it to them because, yeah, people are dying. And President Trump isn't going to just stand by and just say, oh, this is now the status quo. 100,000 Americans a year are going to die of overdose. This is unacceptable. He's going to take it to them. And there's another benefit to this by even talking about this. The messaging is so strong on this. This will inspire cooperation from all these countries where we may be acting in. So all of these will be a good thing. And we'll track this at the end of the year where these overdose deaths go.
And I'm interested in when you get pushback on this because the upside is enormous on this and the downside is also enormous. I mean, if you don't do this and you continue to let tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans die, I mean, this is something that there is a fix to. At least there's somewhat of a remedy to this if we go forward.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like we've had 4 years where we weren't even trying to do something during the Biden administration. Yeah, it's not acceptable because 100,000 people a year dying. Those people, their families, their communities, everyone in this country is affected by this. So it's time to take it to these cartels, and their good days are over. They had their heyday under the Biden administration, but the game is up, and the Trump administration is going after them. And I think this is very effective, not only substantively, but I think the message is quite clear on this.
Meantime, let's bring the subject back to some action by federal agents in this country. Here's DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
The debate over so-called sanctuary policies has real consequences. It has consequences for our law enforcement officers, but also for the families that live here and the businesses that are just trying to provide for their community. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson are answering that question every single day of who should be our priority, who should be our responsibility, and over again, they're choosing criminals.
Pritzker and Johnson are just two names. You add Newsom to that. You add Karen Bass to that. You've got, I mean, the list goes on, Jonathan. It's one of those things where, they're siding with criminals and it's being normalized.
You're exactly right. And if you think about it, one of the most powerful constituencies in the Democratic Party right now seems to be illegal aliens and illegal alien criminals. It's truly astonishing that they would fight so hard to keep criminals in this country. And remember, they don't just affect the communities of the sanctuary cities. Remember, Laken Riley was arrested in New York. So if there was, enforcement back then, she'd still be alive. Her killer was arrested up in New York, sanctuary city. So these affect all of us, and it's so shameful that the Democrats can't even agree to kick out serious violent criminals because they think it's more politically viable to fight Donald Trump as well as to bring in as many illegal aliens as possible. It's a true disgrace if you think about it.
Yeah. Jonathan Fahey, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here to discuss is Art Del Cueto, National Border Patrol Council Vice President. Art, thank you for joining us. So at this point, it is just a report, but how significant would it be if President Trump allowed the military to go after some of these drug cartels?
Look, once again, President Trump continues to show his commitment towards the American public. This is what people voted for, right? At the same time, you're seeing on the other side, you're seeing the true colors of groups of individuals that, they keep putting roadblocks, and their commitment seems to be to defend criminals. And now you have an administration, finally, that their commitment is to the American public and to the future of this country. It would be very significant, but it shows more than anything that President Trump is willing to, expand and move into other areas and make sure that he looks at every single angle to make sure that the American public is safe.
Yeah, and obviously willing to address the problem from outside the box and try new things that nobody else is, which is remarkable considering we've been told for decades that it was impossible to secure the border. I want you to listen to something that Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, had to say yesterday about reports about using the military.
Their behavior is going to have to change one way or another, but it allows us to now target what they're operating and to use other elements of American power, intelligence agencies, the Department of Defense, whatever, to target these groups if we have an opportunity to do it. We have to start treating them as armed terrorist organizations, not simply drug dealing organizations.
It really is that multifaceted approach and outside the box thinking that has gotten us to where we at least have a secure border.
Absolutely. Look, you have groups of individuals in these cartels. It's been documented. They work in 168 different countries. Think about that. 168 different countries. And they continue to, cause chaos without, severe consequences. They're continuing to cause chaos in their own country, those that are operating in Mexico without, enough consequences. And who's suffering? It's the American public that's suffering. It's the border issues that are suffering. It's people in Mexico that are suffering. Frankly, the world is actually suffering. President Trump is coming in, and he's not just making sure that Americans are secure, he's making sure the world is secure because no one has stopped these cartels.
Meanwhile, Democrats only care about cheap labor. Watch this.
The vast majority of people being arrested, being detained, being deported are the same people that so many families trust to care for our children, trust to care for aging parents. They're the people who are preparing and serving meals in restaurants, that are picking the fruit and vegetables and packaging the meat in factories that we depend on to put food on the table at home.
Real quick, Democrats are not even hiding what.
Always said it. This is a modern form of slavery. And frankly, look, as a Hispanic myself, I find it kind of racist for them to think that, Hispanics and people come into this country just so they can do those types of jobs themselves.
Beautifully said. Art, thank you.
The Trump administration is demanding the state of Colorado turn over an alleged killer and member of Tren de Aragua who entered the U.S. illegally under the Biden administration. The White House wants to deport him back to Venezuela. The Aurora, Colorado police chief says this illegal immigrant shot his victims in front of 5 children before ICE and Homeland Security investigations captured him. Investigators say the suspect forced his way into the Colorado apartment this past weekend after a domestic dispute. His wife and sister-in-law were trying to hide in the bathroom with the children when the suspect allegedly critically wounded his wife before killing his sister-in-law. Police say he then fled the scene in this car. The Aurora police chief praising the cooperation between his agency and federal law enforcement who helped locate and arrest this dangerous suspect.
Our aspects on this and the conclusion of what occurred here today, again, it came in a large part based upon our relationship and affiliation with agencies outside of local government. It came with the support and the help of HSI and ICE. We were able to ask them questions specifically about who or what they think this suspect is. They, without question and unhesitatingly, without any due regard to themselves, supplied us with information that was integral to the apprehension of this suspect.
DHS releasing this statement, putting the city of Aurora on blast. Quote, Aurora, Colorado, a sanctuary city, has given cover to Tren de Aragua gang members to terrorize our communities. The brave men and women of ICE will be relentless in their effort to ensure Tren de Aragua terrorists are removed from our country for good. Alicia, you live in Colorado. I know you covered this story. Give us the local response to this. What have you learned about this entire situation?
Well, this was quite terrifying. Some of the details that we learned from Todd Chamberlain, the police chief for APD, are really striking because this suspect apparently was high on cocaine. They had a domestic dispute. He tried to force himself back into the apartment. There was a 15-year-old trying to block the door, and he pushed his way through. Then his wife and sister-in-law grabbed 5 children and tried to hide in the bathroom, and he shot both women on the way in front of those 5 children, killing his sister-in-law and his wife right now, critically injured in the hospital. It has been terrifying. And as you know, Tren de Aragua has really terrorized the city of Aurora and in broader scope, the United States. However, I will say, in response to the police chief here in Aurora, he's been there less than a year. He got there last September. He was not there when TDA was really doing that takeover that we saw, and he came in and really took the reins in terms of action and communication with the community, and he's been doing his best. Like he said right there, and he doesn't care how popular it is with the local political community. He said at this news conference that if he did not have that partnership with the federal government, with HSI and ICE, it would have hindered his investigation. ICE gave him a picture of the suspect. He was able to help. Colorado is a sanctuary state. There is a carve-out, though, when it comes to criminal activity.
These are the people, Emily, that we want to get out of this country.
Correct.
Right? Listen to what Kristi Noem had to say last hour. We have some sound from her.
Today I'm highlighting 4 different examples of individuals that we've recently arrested here out of this office with the good work of ICE and our HSI officers that we've taken off the streets without the help of the governor or the mayor. Our federal officers have had to do this alone without their support, and these dangerous individuals are now no longer victimizing people because of the good work that we do.
Thank goodness we have DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Thank goodness we have President Trump, Emily, doing the job that he's doing to get these people out. But you see the protests against our ICE officers. They are pro keeping these sort of criminals, these monsters, here in this country.
And while these agents are selflessly serving, putting their lives on the line in the midst of these violent protests and obstructions, assaults against them up 1,000%. And then here's what I find so deeply disheartening about these groups that purport to protect, obviously, just the criminals, is that when you talk about that carve out for criminal behavior, you talk about the correlation, the collaboration between the federal agencies and local. That's exactly how crimes are solved. So let's take it out of this conversation for a moment. For example, there in the Moscow horrific University of Idaho shootings, right? Every horrific thing we see, there's usually a symbiotic collaboration between the FBI and more agencies and the locals. Americans depend on that to solve cold cases, to solve horrific crimes. So why not this? For all of the people that are constantly talking about, deservedly so, the needs to protect, for example, minority communities, minority women, women in general, domestic abuse survivors or sufferers, etc., where are their voices now? Because when you zoom back in onto the criminal illegal immigrant behavior, it disproportionately affects all of those people that now, weirdly, everyone is silent about. It's because to them, the enemy will never be a monster murdering a mother in front of her children and their aunt. The monster will always be the commander-in-chief, and that is the most atrocious thing about this.
You know, Lisa, I keep thinking about Aurora, Colorado. Obviously, we heard so much about what the people there have suffered through over the past year or so, right? And this is a direct result of the bad policies of the previous administration. When you couple what happened over the past 4 years, a full open border policy, with the sanctuary city and sanctuary state laws, it's a recipe for disaster. It's why you have so many people now saying these laws have to go. You even have Mayor Eric Adams here in New York City kind of saying, look, I don't agree with sanctuary city laws anymore.
Well, and President Trump was so smart in October of 2024 to go to Aurora, Colorado, and to hold a campaign rally there, drawing attention to the foothold that Tren de Aragua had gotten in that city, drawing attention to the fact that buildings are being overtaken by this gang. So he was so smart to do that. And my heart goes out to Secretary Noem and to our ICE agents who are just trying to do the job of ridding this country of terrorists, of gang members, but yet they're attacking. They're the ones doing something wrong. Yet ICE agents, as you pointed out, Emily, facing 1,000% increase of attacks on them. And Colorado is so bad that not only are they a sanctuary state, preventing the information sharing from local officials to federal, but they've punished 2 deputies who shared information with ICE agents. The Attorney General of Colorado sued one. They faced disciplinary actions and then also a fine of up to $50,000. Right. So you're punished for doing your job, for trying to protect your citizens. So, I don't know what's going to get us out of this upside down world we're living in, but I'd like to get back to where our police officers and our federal authorities are the heroes, and these gang members and terrorists are the villains.
Well, we are certainly on the right track, David, with President Trump in the White House. We saw that in the entire month of July, you had fewer border crossings than one day of the Biden administration border crossings. We're finally getting things at least back in the right direction.
The policies and the numbers and the desired outcomes are aligned more now than ever. A bit to what Lisa said, when do we see this turnaround? I get this every day in caller after caller on radio. The people are getting fed up. The people in Aurora, Colorado, need to be the ones to turn it around. The mayor, the council, they're not doing it. I feel for the police chief 1 year in, but when you become a police chief, you review what has happened before you and why you're there. Go to the people. You're a police chief. Go to the people. The people of Aurora and other communities need to start doing something about this, showing up at council meetings, putting the pressure there, because if their policies are good, if your security is good, if the president is right on this, and we've seen the results, now the last thing left are those people who are the victims of this. And by the way, who are being taxed to pay for benefits and housing and every other thing that we give or they give to these illegal aliens.
That's right. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
All right, the FBI is now re-examining high-interest cases that went unsolved in the Biden era. That includes the 2021 D.C. pipe bombings, the 2022 leak of the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, and the cocaine that was found in the White House in 2023.
Here to discuss this and more is FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. Dan, great to see you on the couch again.
Yeah, welcome back to Fox.
Absolutely.
Good to see you in person. So many good memories. Great to see all of you.
First off, before we get into specifics, what did you think the job was going to be like? What is it like?
You know, the biggest lifestyle change for me has been family-wise. I mean, we already went through this with my time in the Secret Service. But, you know, when the president called and asked if I would take the job, you know, you can't tell your audience for years, go out and do stuff, talk is cheap. And then when the opportunity comes to do stuff, I didn't mean me, you know, I meant you. It's kind of you're a fraud. I mean, you don't sound like a fraud, you are one. So it was a lot. It's been tough on the family. People ask me all the time, you know, do you like it? I say, no, I don't. But I didn't, the president asked me to do this to like it. You know, nobody likes going into an organization like that and having to change things and make big, bold changes. But, you know, I was at one of our facilities yesterday down in Winchester, and a woman who worked there, very nice, said, you know, I used to watch your show. I miss you. I said, you know, I miss me too. You know, part of you, part of you dies a little bit when you see all this stuff from behind the scenes.
You're doing this for country, so we appreciate that and we thank you. And we're excited to find out, to roll back the curtain and find out what's deep in the FBI. We have so many questions about those 3 cases we just mentioned. Y'all are doing a deep dive into this. What's the latest on those investigations?
So the moment Kash and I swore in, we realized that the first thing we had to do is rebuild public trust. This is your FBI. It's not mine. I tell the employees every day, you don't own it, you don't own it, I don't own it. It's like being the center fielder for the Yankees. That'll live with you forever, but you don't own the Yankees. It's a proud franchise. The place has taken a reputational hit. There is zero question about it. There were a lot of bad actors. One of them still out there causing us all kinds of trouble. So we had to fix it and rebuild public trust. One of the ways to do it is these cases of significant public interest that matter. You know, we had 2 pipe bombs planted on January 6th. I mean, we were told by partisan actors out there this was the insurrection, the world was going to fall apart, and no one seemed to show any interest in this case. The second we got in, I put a team on it, and I said, I want answers on this. And I'm pretty confident that we're closing in on some suspects. The reason, by the way, I use social media with these cases, I'm trying to communicate on social media, is nothing's by accident, guys. I do nothing by accident. Every time I put a tweet out on it, we get tips. We got a fascinating tip on one of these cases, one of the 3. I don't want to say which one, but I'm pretty confident that we're going to close out one of them, hopefully shortly. And in the cocaine in the White House, you know, I saw someone on social media, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to an opinion. We work for you, but said, I don't care about the case. Yeah, I do. I was a Secret Service agent. potentially hazardous material made its way into the White House. Nobody seems to know how it got there, and nobody seemed to investigate it fully. Like, what planet do we live on where that's not of public interest?
So you're faced with this interesting thing. I've known you since I was a kid, and I know your instinct is to swing back, but you promised that you weren't going to do that. You promised that you were going to get rid of the partisanship, and you were going to go back to being a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
You went in there, and there were some cases that were closed or still open that a lot of the public felt a little sketchy about. The first assassination attempt against President Donald Trump. It's like, is he really the guy? What happened with Epstein? Can you say with confidence, as a lot of people, you used to be their guy when it comes to podcasts, appearing on Fox News, but now as a law enforcement officer, can you say we have all the information?
Well, I'm never going to say we have all of it. And people ask me all the time, are these cases closed? And whether they're closed administratively is irrelevant. If new tips come in, we're absolutely going to follow them. And that's why I always put out, if you have additional information, please let us know. Those two cases obviously are of significant public interest. I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not know.
There's video of him killing himself.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay, it was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this, we are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Right.
There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So there's three cases that you're looking at, the D.C. pipe bombings, the Supreme Court leak on the Dobbs decision, and the cocaine in the White House. You say one of them, within a day or two, we're going to have a major break?
Well, we've got a good tip this morning. We're going to run it out. We're not going to be able to make that public, obviously, right away, because we have to make sure. And, we have to go all the proper steps. What I don't want to do ever, and I've said this before, it's not an excuse. I can't say to the public enough. I put it in my tweets all the time. I'm not asking you to trust me. Nothing drives me crazy when people go, they're asking us to trust a plan. I am absolutely not. Read my tweets. I don't want you to trust me. I don't. I'd be nice.
You'll have evidence.
All I care about is results.
So
and
let's talk about what the president
right.
wants. He clearly wants a result when he told Brett Baier on the assassination attempt. He's got questions on the first one. Watch.
There's a lot of frustration that we still don't know about that shooter in Butler. And we don't know about his communications. Will we get transparency?
I thought it was strange. The one guy had 18 cell phones. Okay. I have a lot of cell phones, but I have like 2. I call that a lot. And I think I probably make more calls than him. They live outside of Butler in a little place. Where do they get this lawyer that would represent IBM and would represent ExxonMobil?
But you're the president. Can't you find out?
No. Secret Service. They tell me it's fine. But it's a little hard to believe, to be honest with you, okay? It's a little bit hard to believe as I get that throbbing feeling.
So, Dan, the question is that a lot of people have wondered is, did this kid have help? He could not have pulled it off by himself. Was there a foreign actor? Did someone provide him with the weapons? Was there chatter online?
Well, let's be clear here. There are two separate parallel tracks here. Foreign actors targeting people in the United States. And it's not just the president, it's others. That is a very real track. The question is, do they intersect? The case file now, which, by the way, we are going to make another public release on this coming up. We're just kind of finishing up the product now to make sure it's tight and put together. You're going to see a lot of what you've heard about online does not exist in the case file. I'm not telling you information may not surface later. We do the PDB, the President's Daily Brief. We get the same brief, me and Cash, every morning. We have warned people out, telling them if there's something there we want to find. They have shaken every tree on this.
You mean you talked to his classmates, you talked to his family, you've talked to everyone, because they burned the body, cremated, and they cleaned the whole house out.
Yeah, and here's the thing. there are, like with the Epstein case, for example, we have a number of significantly odd abnormalities that would make a normal person go, huh? What? If Lawrence is near his bank at 4 o'clock and the bank gets robbed, but we know Lawrence reported to work afterwards and has an alibi, the fact that the bank was robbed, it's a fact that Lawrence was there, but it's not evidence that Lawrence committed the crime. Things, really, really bad things happened in this case. But when you see the report we're going to release, you'll see that not everything you've been told is true. But the president is not wrong at all. I mean, he's entirely, he was shot in the head. He was shot in the head, got up and screaming, fight, fight. Of course he's going to want answers, but that's our responsibility. And nothing's ever closed, though. If new evidence surfaces, we'll be sure to get it out.
There were just things that were strange. The slope roof thing, you know, the guy was on his bicycle roaming around, never caught, never seen. Let's talk about something that's been in the news this morning, and that is Kash Patel talking about how when James Comey was on the beach and he posted that social media, 8647, he claims that he just happened to walk up along the beach and they saw the shells, he and his wife, and he put it on social media, says he thought it was innocent. He was the director of the FBI, but thought it was innocent. He knows what 86 means. Then Kash Patel said, now we have all these copycats, and now y'all are having to pull resources from all these serious crimes, terrorists, gang-related individuals, drug traffickers, and people who are abusing children. You're pulling them off to go research these copycats because we can't afford another assassination attempt.
I got to tell you, of all the things that have surprised me in the close to now 3 months I've been here is the depravity of Jim Comey. This man is a disgrace to the badge, the FBI, and the country. What he's doing right now, one, going out and me taking shots at Kash. Kash doesn't belong. Kash was the chief of staff at the Department of. Kash is a patriot. Kash has served in numerous high-level roles, taking personal shots while you're on the beach, implying a threat towards the president, and blaming your wife about it. And let me just add about James Comey, you know, Saint Comey, who walks around there moralizing to everyone how wonderful of a human being he is. What you said is absolutely accurate. We have wasted countless man-hours now running out tips to our tip line about people putting 8647 because of Jim Comey, because he cannot control himself and his emotions. He is a child. He is a big child. And let me tell you one more thing. Jim Comey, who wants you to believe. Jim Comey taking a shot at the president. Oh, look at me. I'm such a victim. The president's going after me. He's making a ton of money on this book. The only person that got prosecuted was the president. Jim Comey, we're finding stuff even now. Wait till you read the stuff that's coming out.
Does he still have loyalists in the building? Because when I hear the FBI director saying, you guys are finding boxes that are hidden, okay, how does that happen in the Bureau?
Well, we were there a couple of weeks, and luckily there were a lot of people up there who grabbed us by the arm the minute we came in and said, thank you for being here. You know, we need to talk. There are people there who are really horrified at what happened. And there was a room, and we found stuff, a lot of stuff.
A hidden room.
I wouldn't call it hidden, but hidden from us at least, and not mentioned to us. And then we found stuff in there, and a lot of it's from the Comey era, and we are working our damnedest right now to declassify. And just so you know, because I get the public, I totally understand people saying, well, do it now. The process is not all the information is ours to declassify. Some is other intelligence agencies. It's not, we literally can't do it. Once that gets done and that gets out there and you read some of the stuff we found that, by the way, was not processed through the normal procedure, digitizing it, putting in FBI records, we found it in bags hiding under Jim Comey's FBI. Quickly, you're going to be stunned.
The shells on the beach. Can you not talk to social media and say, y'all take this down? If you see anyone posting this, take it down. It's a threat to the president's life. Second thing, can you arrest people that post these like Comey?
We make arrest decisions based on an interaction with the Department of Justice. We're the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, not prosecution. The problem is a lot of these cases haven't been a Secret Service agent, is you're going to prove intent. And here's what you don't want. You say you arrest him, and he goes, there's not a magistrate that's going to, and the guy walks out of court doing a victory lap.
You got to build the right case.
You have to build a case. You need to build probable cause. I don't want to do what the left did, which is jump the gun. I mean, then you have a situation like the prior deputy director, prior to Abate, Andrew McCabe, who goes back, files a lawsuit, You know, this guy was engaged in one of the biggest scandals in American history. He got $200,000, I believe, and his pension. You have to do this the right way.
What about social media?
And he also got a network contract, so he's an expert commenting on you.
Yeah, they're
what
all
is that
victims.
like?
Well, listen, as Lawrence said before, it's difficult for me to not be able to respond like I used to, but there'll be a day. There'll be a day. I'll be back one day, and I'm going to be sure to answer all that stuff. But that's not my job now. My job now is to put aside my partisan interests and to responsibly handle the deputy director of the FBI position. You got to remember, Brian, nothing that gets to our desk, me or Cash, is a 5 or a 6 problem. Everything's a 10. If it's a 9, someone else fixed it.
We didn't even get a chance to talk about the laptop that the FBI held on to make sure it wasn't a factor in the election.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to address. You know, we can't publicly talk about HR matters. We just can't. You know,
it's illegal.
Yeah, it's you can't do it. But anyone out there who thinks we have not taken appropriate action against political actors, they're just making that up. We can't go out and advertise this stuff, but if you think we're allowing partisanship to infiltrate the FBI and just let all that bad stuff happen, you're really just making, I don't know why you're doing it. Maybe you're trying to break up, divorce us from the people and breed mistrust. But that is not what's happening. I don't know what people think me and Cash are doing all day. I mean, I gave up everything for this. I mean, you know, my wife is struggling. I'm not a victim. I'm not Jim Comey. It's fine. I did this, and I'm proud I did it. But if you think we're there for tea and crumpets, well, I mean, Cash is there all day. We share it. Our offices are linked. He turns on the faucet. I hear it. He's there he gets in at like 6 o'clock in the morning. He doesn't leave till 7 at night. You know, I'm in there at 7:30 in the morning. He uses the gym. I work out in my apartment. But I stare at these 4 walls all day in D.C., you know, by myself, divorced from my wife. Not divorced, but I mean separated, divorced. And it's hard. I mean, you know, we love each other, and it's hard to be apart.
But you're doing some great work. You're straightening out at the FBI. You're moving buildings. There's a lot of change.
I got one more thing. I'm not asking anyone to trust me. Trust is for fools. Just wait for the results. That's all I'm asking. Don't trust me. Trust is for fools. Too many actors in government have asked you to trust them and screwed you in the past. Yeah. We're not doing that.
Yeah, speed. You don't need speed in this. You need to do it right.
Smooth is fast.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Great to see you.
Appreciate you.
Great to see you.
I didn't hurt you.
Dan Bongino. This was a couple of weeks back, but a lot of people are still asking questions like, where are these cases that you guys are working on? But as we know now, Director of National Intelligence, the legend, Tulsi Gabbard, she's saved the day, okay? As far as we know. All right, ice, baby.
You might have seen this. This week, Fox News exclusively rode along with Border Patrol on this immigration raid here in Los Angeles, during which federal agents arrested 16 illegal aliens at a Home Depot, with those agents arriving secretly inside of a Penske moving truck. Now, this raid came despite a federal judge's order restricting some aspects of immigration enforcement operations here in Southern California. For more on this, we're going to bring in Greg Bavino. He's the U.S. Border Patrol chief for the El Centro sector and the man in charge of at-large operations here in Southern California. Chief, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
It's good to see you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
So you organized this operation. You were there in person for it. And just days before it went down, LA Mayor Karen Bass kind of took a little bit of a victory lap. Here's what she said. Take a look at her post here, declaring victory over the federal government. She said, quote, "Los Angeles stood strong and we won. You can't just snatch people off the street based off appearance. The court knows that. The people know that. And now this administration knows that." You guys hit this Home Depot just a few days after that. Was this operation meant to send a message to Mayor Bass that, hey, the federal government is still here, we're not going anywhere?
Sure, Bill. This operation was meant to send a message to all bad people and bad things that we're here in Los Angeles. We haven't left Los Angeles. And if you're still here and you're still an illegal alien or an aggravated felon illegal alien or somebody that we're targeting, we're here and we're going to arrest you. As far as what the mayor said, I scratch my head on that sometimes, Bill, because I believe she also called this an experiment. Well, the Border Patrol is 101 years old. We've patrolled that border. We've patrolled the interior for that 101 years, and definitely not an experiment. We make the security of Ma and Pa America, that's our personal responsibility, and it's our personal responsibility to stay here in Los Angeles and get this job done.
And we do have this court order in place from this federal judge here in LA, which blocks federal agents from using Spanish-speaking, skin color, location as the sole basis for making some of these arrests. And you know the criticisms out there. LA Mayor Karen Bass says you guys are just going around chasing down anybody who looks brown to you. So my question to you is, was this operation at this Home Depot, did it abide by that federal court order? And if so, how?
Sure. Bill, when the Border Patrol, CBP, and our allied law enforcement partners, when we conduct operations, law enforcement operations, we always abide by the law, whether it's a temporary restraining order that you just mentioned, whether it's applicable federal laws, rules, and regulations, and most especially the Constitution of the United States. We always abide by that legally, ethically, and morally in everything that we do. And we're doing that in Los Angeles right now today. As a matter of fact, we have agents out on the streets right now making apprehensions as you and I are speaking. They're doing that, again, legally, ethically, and morally. And Bill, you know, I took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution nearly 3 decades ago. Every Border Patrol agent takes an oath to uphold and defend that Constitution, and we do uphold and defend the Constitution, and we're doing that here in Los Angeles.
So in terms of the court order, like the critics out there are saying, well, you guys pulled up in these moving trucks, you were hidden inside, then you get out, you spill out, and you start chasing after everybody. The question is, how does that abide by the court order? So was there some pre-intelligence that went into this? You guys have said this was a targeted operation. How so?
Sure, Bill, every operation that we conduct is a targeted operation. This operation, we entitled it Trojan Horse. That operation, we had pre-intelligence. We knew what was going on in that location, as we do in nearly every location that we come into contact with here in Los Angeles. We knew there was criminal activity afoot there for a long time. So we're not going to ignore criminal activity, we're going after it. And that's exactly what we did. It was a very creative and innovative concept that our Border Patrol agents came up with. That's that same creativity and innovation that we see along the border and in the interior every day that brings good, sound operations to make our city safer.
And I got about 30 seconds left. You know, some people out there say, well, why are you going after these day laborers? They're just looking for work. But I understand, just like what we saw in Sacramento, some of the people you arrested at this Home Depot had criminal histories.
Bill, we're starting to see that 30 to 40%, for your viewers, 30 to 40% of these larger operations in which we apprehend large amounts of illegal aliens, 30 to 40% are coming back with significant criminal and or immigration histories. This operation was the same way. I believe out of the 16 apprehended there that morning, at least 6 had significant immigration and criminal histories. Do you want someone like that working in your house?
All right, got to leave it there. Chief Pavino, thanks for...
Uh-oh. Dams are punching air right now. They're punching air. All right, here we go.
Baltimore's soft on crime policies just gave this man a get out of jail free card. The man shown in this image, 28-year-old Patrick Bryce, was sentenced to 1 year of home detention and 3 years of probation for assaulting 2 pro-life men ages 84 and 73 outside a Planned Parenthood in the Democrat-run city. We must warn you, the footage you're about to see is graphic. This surveillance...
Uh-oh, we can't show it. If it's graphic, we cannot show it. All right, here we go.
Everyone, this is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Compagno, and joining us today, Laura Trump, host of My View with Laura Trump, Alicia Acuna, Fox News senior correspondent, Lisa Booth, Fox News political analyst, and David Webb, Fox News contributor. Now let's go straight to Madeline Rivera, live from Washington with the latest on this heartbreaking story. Madeline.
Hey, Emily, we spoke to the attorney for one of the victims, and he says the problem comes from the fact that the judge cleared the suspect, Patrick Bryce, of a more serious charge. So this is that judge, Yvette Bryant, who's being accused of being too lenient. The jury could not reach a unanimous verdict on the first-degree assault charge against Bryce when this case went to trial earlier this year. That is a felony. It would have led to jail time had he been found guilty of it. So there was a bench trial in June, and that's when Bryant acquitted Bryce on the first-degree assault because she says you could not tell in this video of the attack if Bryce was provoked. Here's the victim's attorney, Terrell Roberts.
That's absolutely incorrect, factually and legally. he was committing a crime. That is, Bryce had just tackled Mr. Schaefer into a flower pot and brick wall, and he was out on the ground, and Mr. Crosby was coming to his aid. So there was no legal provocation on the part of Mr. Crosby coming over to aid his friend. It's ridiculous. It's absurd.
Roberts adds justice was not served.
The effect of all this is that it's open season for pro-life people working around places like Planned Parenthood. It's open season for them, on them. I mean, anybody can come up and assault them, maim them, and essentially get away with it.
Bryce admitted he snapped when he attacked the two men. He says he thought one of the victims had made a racial comment, which put him over the edge. The victim's attorney is pushing back on that. Emily.
Thank you, Madeline. Bringing this conversation out here, David Webb, I find this sickening. I also find it sickening that the judge says, without the sort of clear proof of provocation, it doesn't need provocation. Nothing justifies that kind of violence. That attorney is absolutely right. It is open season. And the fact that there weren't enhancement charges brought because those two gentlemen were elderly sickens me to my stomach. This is not justice. But this is the U.S. under those Democrat-led cities.
Yeah, I mean, put the judge aside for a moment. Let me give you another perspective. As a black Republican, as a conservative, I've been called Uncle Tom, House Negro, all kinds of names throughout my career, and especially since the Tea Party days, by people I work with at SiriusXM. At no time did I ever go to this. So you want to talk about provocation? I've been called just about everything out there. This man, a 28-year-old thug, tackled a 73-year-old man, then took on an 84-year-old. And for the judge to say that the 84-year-old might have jumped in to get in the... How many 84-year-olds out there jump in to get into a fight with a much younger and clearly stronger man? This is garbage. This is Baltimore. This is the kind of judge that has allowed for an atmosphere that led to the riots after Freddie Gray, of all of these things, a city that's broken and doesn't have to live with the problem because these judges live in their nice enclaves or secure environment, are escorted to the courthouses quite often. They have their coverage. But the provocation is garbage. Speaking as a black man who's been called every name, I never turned around and looked at people even that I work in the same company with and thought, let me go ahead and start a fight and take it from there.
And Laura, I want to underscore that the victims in this vehemently deny saying anything racially charged. And even the perp admits that he thought he heard something. So those men did not say anything. The whole point is that they were protesting abortions. That was their crime, other than apparently being old on this sidewalk. Nothing justifies this, and nothing justifies the slap on the wrist that this perp got.
Yeah, and don't forget, there was a woman, a 78-year-old woman, who was arrested and sentenced to 2 years in prison for what a lot of people say was praying outside an abortion clinic not too long ago. This is not the first time we have seen what feels like activist judges going against conservatives who are out there using their First Amendment right to protest and peacefully do so against something they don't agree with. There is never, to your point, Emily, any justification for anything like this to ever happen. And I hope that people start calling this judge out, because it is because of these judges we have seen what does not feel like equality here in the United States. You can't let this guy off the hook while you have the 78-year-old woman just, a year or so ago who was given 2 years in jail for praying outside an abortion clinic. It doesn't work like that. This is America. We deserve better.
That's right. And Lisa, Kayleigh McEnany, our Kayleigh, interviewed those pro-life protesters. We're going to show a few seconds of that if we can pull it up, guys.
I'm hoping you could tell me about the conditions because, to be quite honest, I was shocked when I walked in and we had a conversation off camera about no toilet paper, some of the other supplies that were available. Could you share with me the condition of the prison?
Yeah, where I was in Bravo unit, it was actually a unit that had been condemned, and not all of our showers worked. There was backups in the plumbing with sewage coming out. Sometimes the heat wasn't working. Guys were wearing full jackets, parkas, hats, and gloves in the unit not able to sleep. You know, it was appalling. We went over 2 weeks without toilet paper. And some of the guys mentioned that some of the men who were there with gender dysphoria wearing dresses, they could get mascara, lipstick, and perfume, but we couldn't even get toilet paper or basic needs. So there was a lot of neglect.
So let me get this straight. So protesters, peaceful protesters, faith-filled elderly protesters are subjected to not fit for human habitation conditions. And then an absolute thug monster who beats severely two elderly men on the sidewalk, one of whom has permanent eye damage, he just gets house arrest.
Well, I mean, it's consistent with what we've seen in this country with pro-lifers being punished by the law. I mean, Chip Roy's office, Congressman Chip Roy's office has the numbers. From 1994 to 2024, there are 205 cases against pro-life activists and only 6 against abortion activists under the FACE Act, despite the fact that we saw over 100 pregnancy centers and churches firebombed or attacked after the Dobbs decision, Roe v. Wade, was released. So despite that, you have this unequal application of law. And I wonder if Patrick Bryce, the offender here, is aware that Planned Parenthood was started by Margaret Sanger, who believed in eugenics, and that was her mission. And she spoke at a KKK rally back in, I think it was like 1926. And by the way, if you look at abortion, it does disproportionately impact Black babies. So her mission is still being carried out by pro-abortionists in the country. I just want to also point out that an abortion is committed in this country every 30 seconds as well. And so all these two men were guilty of, who were 73 and 80 at the time, were praying outside of a Planned Parenthood and trying to encourage a young woman to make a different decision and perhaps save a life in this country.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Because obviously we have a federal administration that is intent on wiping this kind of stuff out, but they're running into the federalism. So where do we go? Where do these citizens go who actually want to be protected?
I think that a lot of Americans right now are watching what the Trump administration is doing with Washington, D.C., because you think about this. When one of the victims, Mark Crosby, got up in the court and he shouted as the judge was leaving, "What about my rights, my well-being?" I think he echoed a sentiment that people have about violent crime in America. And statistically, according to the FBI, they released the numbers this week, violent crime is down. But much like economic numbers, you can throw data at people all day long. It really has to do with their own personal experience. And I think when someone sees these videos, and just like in Cincinnati, they see these videos and they see the punishment with this case, it's so upsetting. So I think they're watching what the president is doing because they're applying pressure where they feel that Americans aren't safe.
Yeah, and certainly in disproportionate terms there in Cincinnati. In Baltimore. Laura, this weekend on your show, you have a very special guest. Tell us what we can expect.
Yeah, so this is really exciting.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. Y'all want to keep going? Let's go. Let's go.
Fox News alert, we're at war.
Okay.
Always 20 kilograms of fentanyl that's in front of me on this table. That's enough to kill 10 million people. The work that we do is to protect people and make sure that we remove these weapons and drugs off of our streets and hold those criminals accountable who would go forward and continue to use that to harm individuals.
Cartel.
All right, let's go on the OG.
Let's do a little history. I enjoy history. Do you enjoy history? And then we will apply it to what's going on today, which is very, very important. Gerrymandering. Wow, that's quite a word. Gerrymandering. Thomas Rogers Hunter, University of West Georgia, the first gerrymander. Though the term gerrymander was coined following Massachusetts State Senate redistricting in 1812, many scholars have posited that it was actually Patrick Henry, remember him, the great Patrick Henry of Virginia, who first practiced this art by designing an unnatural district that would ensure his rival James Madison's defeat in Virginia's first congressional elections in 1789. Historians have ample evidence to buttress such claims, for numerous founding fathers bitterly complained that Henry was going out of his way to design a district for Madison's defeat. Through hard and smart campaigning, however, Madison managed to defeat his opponent, James Monroe, thus making the only congressional election in American history pitting two future presidents against each other. So what happened here? 1788, the congressional districting, and it finds that contrary to the accepted wisdom, ingenious and artificial combinations were not used to design Madison's district, for it was composed of a compact group of whole counties entirely within the Piedmont region. But they were accused of, they didn't call it gerrymandering back then, but changing the district. Patrick Henry was, to try and defeat Madison. Madison did not lose. So that is the first time this subject comes up. But you want to know where gerrymandering comes from, the phrase? The Smithsonian Magazine helps us. Long and thin, the redrawn state Senate district in Massachusetts stretched from near Boston to New Hampshire's border, where it hooked east along the Merrimack River to the coast. It sliced up Essex County, a political stronghold for the Federalist Party, all by design of its ascendant political rival, the Democratic Republicans. It worked. The freakishly shaped district elected 3 Democrat Republicans that year, 1812, breaking up the county's previous delegation of 5 Federalist senators. Now, Elbridge Gerry, the governor who signed the bill creating the mishap in Massachusetts district, was a founding father, signer of the Declaration of Independence, reluctant framer of the Constitution. He refused to sign that. Congressman, diplomat, and the 5th vice president of the United States. So there's a little bit of history to give us context. So when the Democrats today say, this reminds me of the Holocaust, how sick is that? Or this is the end of democracy, or Trump is an authoritarian, or on and on and on. These poor people are nuts. Let's get into this. Let's start from the beginning of our beginning, modern times. Let's start with the 2020 census. The 2020 census, they did a post-enumeration survey. That is, they look at population overcounts and undercounts. And guess what they found? A disaster. The census in 2020 was a disaster. Rhode Island should have lost a seat, but it didn't. Minnesota should have lost a seat, but it didn't. Colorado was wrongly given a seat. It should give it back. New York possibly would have lost 1 seat, but it didn't. Florida gained a couple of seats, but it should have gained a couple more, 2 more seats. Texas should have received 1 to 2 more seats, but it didn't. You see, there were mathematical errors in 2020. Wow, the census? 10 of the 12 over and undercounts benefited the Democrats. 5 of the 6 undercounts are in Republican states. 5 of the 6 overcounts are in Democrat states. Isn't it amazing how the mistakes are always made against the Republicans and for the Democrats? Now let's look at this. This impacts the distribution of House seats and the Electoral College. This is very, very important. President Trump's Electoral College victory was actually bigger than reported. Bigger. Because the Republican states should have had more Electoral College votes, as well as some of the swing states. So he won a bigger landslide than the landslide they said he won. Here's the bottom line. Democrat states would have lost an estimate of 9 seats in Congress, and that includes 9 Electoral College votes. Republican states would also have picked up 9 additional Electoral College votes, as I pointed out. So, look how close the votes are in the House of Representatives. What do you got, a 3-vote majority? It should be at least a 5-vote majority with a potential 13-vote majority just because the census screwed up. Imagine if the census had actually been accurate. This is all before the gerrymandering that took place in 2020 and 2021. Mark, what are you talking about? We're talking about Texas stealing 5 seats for Republicans. Excuse me. After this census came up, particularly the Democrat dark blue states, they went crazy with gerrymandering and redistricting. They went crazy. Let's take a look at some of what these Democrat states have done. Let's look at the state of Illinois. 34.5% of the state is registered Democrat. 27.05% of the state is registered Republican. And yet, they have 17 House members, 14 Democrat, 3 Republican. And their map looks like a bowl of linguine, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's look at the state of Maryland. Maryland, Democrat registration 50.22%, Republican 25.61%. So all these states have a substantial no identification or independent registration. So what did Maryland do? 7 Democrats and 1 lonely Republican. Wow, that's democracy. Let's go to Massachusetts, where it's even better. 33.03% are Democrats, 12.39% are Republicans. That means that over 50% of the voters in Massachusetts don't identify as either. But that didn't stop the Democrats from spreading democracy all over the state. 9 Democrats, no Republicans. Excuse me? 9 Democrats, no Republicans. That's Democrat Party democracy for... Let's go to New Jersey. New Jersey, the state that literally has the best delis. May I say that? I think I did. New Jersey, Democrats, 40.99% Democrats registered there, 41%. Republicans, 30.37%. What's the break there? 9 Democrats, 3 Republicans. Let's go to New York. 48.78% registered Democrat, 21.04% registered Republican, 19 Democrats, 7 Republicans. All heavily, heavily, heavily weighted for the Democrats. All these states. But let's go to California. That's the big one, California. 45.83% Democrats, 24.87% Republicans, 43 Democrats, and 9 Republicans. So the Democrats are out there whining, talking about, God, it's the end of democracy. And what's going on here? They benefit from a corrupt census count. It was corrupt. And they benefit from these dark blue Democrat, in many cases, one-party states that have blown out Republican representation. And there they are. Where's the media? How come the media doesn't explain any of this? Because they're in on it. That's why. Now, what does our Constitution say about all of this? July 14, 1787, there was a vote in Philadelphia at the Constitutional Convention. It was a close vote. The delegates voted, each state gets at least 1 representative, and based on their population, they're entitled to more representatives. And the text of the Constitution talks about actual enumeration. We're looking at Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3, determined by a regular census, so a regular census every decade. And now we have the question, does that include non-citizens, aka illegal aliens, or all residents, or all citizens? What do they mean by this? And the word people, it's interesting, it's not exactly in the part of the text of the Constitution we're talking about, but it is in the larger section and clause, people. The word people or persons you'll see in the Constitution in many places, and it is interpreted based on its application to that particular section of the Constitution. But now we're coming to the nub of the matter. The real reason the Democrats open the borders and then refuse to deport. They open the borders in violation of the Federal Immigration Act, and they refuse to deport people in violation of the Federal Immigration Act. What is going on here? We just talked about gerrymandering, how the Democrats use it to benefit their states, but the Republicans are not allowed to, you see. And we just talked about the corrupt 2020 census, how that helped the Democrats. It seemed to all be going in one direction, doesn't it? And then there's the third shoe. 2 shoes have dropped, the third shoe. And this is the real reason Democrats oppose deportation and support open borders: to permanently control the House of Representatives and to permanently control the Electoral College. You see, persons, they tell us, and their courts tell us so far, the Supreme Court has never ruled exactly on point, that persons would include any resident or any person who's in the state or in the congressional district that exists at the time. Any person, which would include illegal aliens. That's clearly what the framers of the Constitution meant. The only problem is there's not a single word anywhere that says that's what they meant, much like birthright citizenship. That word, that phrase, doesn't exist anywhere either. But they tell us that's in the Constitution. So let's look at persons. This issue of illegal aliens treated as persons only became an issue because of the mass influx of illegal immigrants over the last several decades, especially now, under the Biden regime. Illegal aliens cannot vote, but including them in the census affects voting Power. How so, Mark? Districts with more illegal aliens watered down the voting power of the citizens that are in the district. Why? Because you're now assigning districts based on the population, not on the citizenry who can vote. And so the actual citizenry that votes in the district, their vote is watered down. Why? Because illegal aliens are helping to create a district in which there's a representative who now has to represent whom? Well, not just the citizens who vote, but the illegal aliens. It undermines the principle of citizen equality. How? One person, one vote, because citizens in districts with fewer illegal aliens have more influence. Now, so citizens in districts have more, with fewer illegal aliens, have more influence because citizens in districts with more illegal aliens have less. I'm the representative of District A. Let's say 1/3 of the people that are illegal aliens, 2/3 are citizens. Okay. Now, let's say I'm the representative of District B. And let's say 3/4 of the district is citizens and 1/4 of the district is illegal aliens. That District B with more citizens have more say and influence in that representative than the citizens in the next door district, right? Because there's more illegal aliens and that representative also wants to represent the more illegal aliens. You're diluting the votes of certain citizens depending on how many illegal aliens are in the district. So you now have House members with such large, particularly in the cities and in the border areas, with such large population of illegal aliens in their district that they become a major constituency and influence on the member. And that's why these members more and more oppose enforcing immigration laws and support illegal immigration. And virtually all of them are Democrats. So they oppose deportation. That's why they're so aggressive, the Democrat Party, in making clear they oppose securing the border and oppose removing the illegal aliens. Because a large percentage of their constituents are not voters. But the district is designed to include the illegal aliens. It totally undermines members' accountability to the citizens, not only in their district, but to the whole nation. Does anyone honestly believe this was what the framers intended? Of course they didn't intend this. They were trying to get an accurate count of American citizens in the districts in order to apportion seats. It wasn't, oh, we're going to have a party that's going to flood the nation with aliens here illegally so they can get seats too. That was never their intention, obviously. Same thing the Democrats have done, as I said, with the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship. They've turned it on its head. They've twisted it. They will defend it to the end because they want illegal aliens who have children for their children to be citizens. They want people to come over the border so they can confer all kinds of power and rights on them in order to create more Democrat districts. According to the Center for Immigration Studies, increases in legal and illegal immigration in the 2020 census shifted 17 House seats. Now, in addition to the corruption of the mathematics, shifted 17 House seats, therefore 17 Electoral College votes. The result, 10 seats shifted from Republican states, 4 seats from battleground states, benefiting the Democrats. That's 14 seats benefiting the Democrats in addition to the census errors, in addition to their gerrymandering. Again, this is why the Democrats open our borders and obstruct deportation. And what do they want to do with these illegal aliens? They want to give them health care. They want to give them work permits. They want to give them Social Security benefits. They want to give them local voting rights, driver's license, and ultimately amnesty. It's not because they care about these people. They had the open border. How many women were sold into sex slavery? Hundreds of thousands of children are missing. Many of them sold into sex slavery. Or what about labor slavery that's taking place? And the fentanyl coming. They don't care about people. It's power. It's power. And I want to make the point right here in my new book on power. And they use the phrases that we who oppose all this are destroying democracy, that we who are fighting back with maybe 5 districts in Texas, that we haven't seen anything like this since the Holocaust. As I write, the pursuit and maintenance of negative power, as the Democrats pursue it, require the utilization of negative techniques of communication, including manipulation, deception, repetition, deceit, concealment, distraction, and fear-mongering, exactly what you're hearing from them. In language that is intimidating, self-serving, and orchestrated. It is an approach that seeks to arouse prejudices and stifle independent thought. They say these are all violations of the Voting Rights Act. But when they do it, of course, they're upholding the Voting Rights Act. The purpose is to exert power over language and to control the population without moral reservations. Indeed, morality itself is said to be relative, or nothing but an abstraction concealing the rot of open societies and democracies and obfuscating the exploitation of the people. In the political context, when language is applied this way, it strikes a central part of the democratic system, denying the body politic information with which to make knowledgeable, qualitative, and collective decisions. Of course, this is the intention of its practitioners. Moreover, communication of this sort exists for the purpose of arousing and angering the citizenry and exhorting them to action that is destructive of the existing society and their own lives and lifestyles in service to the demagogue and his aims. Inasmuch as the people and their consent are the only legitimate and just source of government, the entire enterprise becomes corrupt and malevolent. Unfortunately, citizens acquiesce to it, regurgitate it, even demand it, where applicable, vote for it, believing there's no other course or that it is the best course until it's too late to reverse course without an abrupt and often violent revolt. This is what you're experiencing in terms of Democrat Party propaganda. This is the truth about the whole gerrymandering issue. And now let's hope that some of the news organizations are ashamed to say and explain what's right. I doubt it.
One even more Fox.
Thank you for tuning in to the live show, man. Y'all are the best. That was Mark Levin for sure. Okay. Here we go. 2 more, and we should be good to go.
Ksenia, welcome home. We're so happy to have you back here in the U.S. And, you know, your story, I think, is shocking to a lot of people. Maybe take us through from, you know, the time you landed in Russia to go visit family. You had no idea what was about to happen to you, right?
Yes. Thank you, Laura. And I'm really happy to be here. And I'm really happy to be back to America. And yeah, talking about my story, I went to visit my family, as I always did. I went there almost every year and haven't been since the Ukrainian-Russian conflict started. And then that was the first time. And right when I landed in my homeland, that's when everything started. I was going through the border control with the paperwork check. Then they asked if I have another passport, and I said that I do. And they asked for the passport, and they saw another passport is American passport. And they took both of the documents, and they say they're going to talk with me separately. And then it was 11 hours of the first examination at the airport overnight.
Oh my gosh. So you thought you were going to land. You thought you were just going to go see your family on a typical visit back to Russia. And all of a sudden you're detained for 11 hours. They've taken your passport, they've taken your cell phone. And at what point did you find out that this was all based on a donation that you made of just over $50?
$51.80 to the American-based charity, which help ones affected by the war.
Wow. And because you had donated $51.80 to potentially help victims in Ukraine of this war, that was the big problem.
And right away they told that it can come to the criminal charges and I can serve up to lifetime in the prison. So you don't really realize that could be real.
This all, I'm sure, happened very rapidly. You all of a sudden find yourself actually in a Russian prison. This must have been a surreal experience for you. I mean, nowhere in your wildest dreams, I'm sure, did you ever imagine this?
You can imagine about prison just watching the movies or something. It's that, but more. You just need to survive somehow, and you just drag it day to day. And I remember I had this phrase inside my head, which I read in a book of Saint-Exupéry. where he told about his experience of survival in the desert, and he just needed to do one step. He's like, okay, just do one more step, just do one more step, and that's how you drag through this, at first especially.
Tell me about your family in Russia at this time. I imagine that for them to be Russian citizens, solely Russian citizens, and to know that, you know, their loved one had been imprisoned for something that, I mean, I think the rest of the world looks at this, Ksenia, and they say, this is insane, this is crazy. That must be very hard for them to deal with, but can they even be honest about what they think of it under this current leadership in Russia?
My parents are patriots, as I always been, and it was hard for them to realize that something that they love captured someone they loved, and it was hard a moment to overcome for them. But I guess what we all focused on just us now, just us being tight, just us supporting each other, just us bringing love more than ever to each other, and like, making each other feel that we're there for us.
So how did you find out about your release? Tell me about that moment.
Well, I found out once I landed at Abu Dhabi, I think, because before that it was all, a Russian side wouldn't share too much.
Oh wow, so you didn't even know?
I didn't know. They took me from the penal colony one day, and I would think that it might be something good, but at the same time, being in this environment for a while, it teaches you to not, hope for something till the very last moment. And till the last moment, I was debating if it's like I'm coming for an additional sentence or something like this, or that's my release. No one said really anything. We landed and we were waiting for the American plane to land. And then they're like, okay, time to go. But as they said, oh, Americans are here, I remember this feeling of like this warm wave of emotions going through my body, which finally was like this big exhale.
You talk about things that maybe kept you going day to day, just one foot in front of the other, but talk about your boyfriend, because he was a big factor in this as well.
He was the biggest factor, I would say. Like, he's my hero. He fought for me every day throughout all of these 15 months. He also was my biggest emotional supporter. We would write letters to each other. And every letter, I don't know if he had doubts inside him, but he would never show that he ever for one moment doubted that I will be back and we will be reunited.
So tell me about the moment that you were actually reunited with him.
I walked out of the plane, and my first intention was just to run and just to hug him. And I remember we stayed hugging probably few minutes. I don't know how long. It felt forever, but it felt like I didn't want to let him go. It felt incredible. It felt surreal.
Tell me about meeting President Trump, what you said to him, what he said to you, and that must have been a really powerful moment.
Of course, never in my life I would imagine being in an Oval Office and shaking President Trump's hand, and everything felt so warm. It felt almost like stopping by at someone who you knew for a while. And he was very warm, he was very simple, very welcoming, he was funny, he joked right away. And it went really well, and it felt overwhelming. And now I can tell more than ever, like, if not for President Trump, I would still be in Russian prison, but he really does care about regular citizens. He's bringing a lot of people home now.
And Ksenia is taking full advantage of her own freedom. Well, Ksenia, to be here out in beautiful nature, I'm sure you thought about moments like this so often when you were in that Russian prison.
Oh yeah, I did. And all you have there, it's your imagination, right? Because around yourself, you see just gray walls. So you imagine all of this beauty. And even now, like yesterday, walking in New York City in the night, just alone, just looking around, it brings so much happiness in you. Yeah. I'm feeling it, and I'm grateful for each moment now, because this is finally a reality.
What was the one food that you were excited to eat when you came back to the United States after you were in prison?
Everyone is asking this question, and the answer is so boring, but that was omelet. I was craving omelet. And for the first week, I would eat omelet every day.
Oh, wow. I love an omelet. I'm a fan. I'm a big egg fan myself.
Me too. Me too.
funny.
I can eat it morning and night.
So I know that you had a meeting with President Trump and you were able to tell him thank you in person. If there's anything else you want to say to him right now, what would you say?
I would definitely thank him every time I see him, because that he brought my life back to me. And I would also ask him to bring all other Americans held abroad and in Russia specifically home, because they really need him.
Ksenia is already reaching out to another young woman, a legal permanent resident of the United States, still trapped behind bars in Russia. Tell us about Olga Jesler and what her story is, how you found out about her, and you've been corresponding with her.
Yeah, so Olga Jesler, she has a very similar story. She went to Russia, where she went pretty often. She had a family emergency, so she just been a good sister, and she went there, and all out of a sudden she's in prison. She's 35 now, and she's been in prison for 3 years by now, and she didn't really do anything wrong. I feel like for her, as for me, the problem was that having American coming from America.
Well, having been through this experience, you think about where things stand right now with this war between Russia and Ukraine. I mean, tensions are continuing to heighten. Give me your sense about what you see in the future between for the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
I always cared about people. That's how I grew up, and I just felt bad for that. So for me to say any opinion on this is really hard. It shouldn't be like this. People shouldn't die with no reason. So I really hope everything's going to be peaceful soon, and everyone will be back to their homes and rebuilding their life.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to...
All right. Thank you for tuning into the live show. It is currently 2:09 a.m. And of course, today's date is the 10th of August, 2025. It's about to be fall. So everybody get ready. Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and believe in Almighty God. God is the greatest. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, come on now. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't, double tap to your screen to give this video a like. Come on. And with that being said, God is the greatest. God is the greatest. Without God, there would be no me. So I don't know about y'all, but I know for a fact without God, there will be no me. So shout out to the King of Kings. All right. The Father of all spirit. Okay. It's Sunday. Okay. It's Sunday. So let's go. It's Sunday, baby. All right. With that being said, I got to give a shout out to Ice Baby, to law enforcement officers. I got to give a shout out to the veterans and the military personnel. Without you guys, there would be no homeland. I got to give a shout out to the hard-working fathers out there doing their best to give their children, their spouse, their community the best they have inside of them. So I got to give a shout out to the fathers. I got to give a shout out to the mothers as well. They've been doing great work for centuries. So yeah, shout out to the mothers and everybody tuned in. God bless y'all. And God bless America. Thank God for America. Without this great land, a lot of other countries would be going bonkers right now. But God has blessed America so much that it's become a blessing to other countries. And with that being said, everybody live in peace as one, in unity. Come together. It is called the United States of America, not the divided state. Okay. It is country before party. All right. You are an American before you are a Democrat. You are an American before you are a Republican. So don't forget that when you want to start going back and forth with your fellow American brothers and sisters, don't forget that you are an American first before your respective parties. All right. I love you guys. Stay united, ladies and gentlemen. And your boy Genesis, that's the go. All right. You are currently tuned into the Genesis Show. turn on your notification bell. We're going to be back soon. I love you guys. See you soon. Bye.